building. Our vision and mission here at New Scotland Elementary School is to provide an environment through the collaboration of parents, students, teachers, administrators, and community people in which students can achieve their academic and emotional potential through the development of self-confidence, self-discipline, self-expression, and creativity. And you'll see up here on the screen, we've got some lovely memories from our Dad Take Your Child to School Day, which was on Tuesday, September 20th. We had a wonderful turnout. Over 250 families were here. In terms of our building demographics, when I did this report a couple of days ago, we were at 525 students. We are currently at 527 students. We service grades pre-K through 5. We have co-taught classrooms where we have a special ed teacher and a consultant, special ed consultant teacher and a regular education teacher in each grade level, grades K through 5. We have two pre-K sections at 18 children each. That's a law that there can be no more than 18 in each of those rooms, so we're holding firm at 18 in 2 sections of pre-K. We have 3 sections of kindergarten, averaging 22 children each, 3 sections of first grade at 26 children each, 4 sections of second at 22, 4 at third of 23, 4 at fourth at 22, and 3 at fifth at 22. You notice we are 3 deep and 4 deep, depending on the grade level, and the current 4 deep bubble is in second grade, and as that moves forward, we will eventually achieve what we call right sizing in our building. So that is our goal. So that's why you see the large numbers of 26 in first grade currently, and that will be moving through the building. We also have 3 self-contained autism spectrum disorder classrooms. Those are 913s, that's 9 teachers per, 9 students per 1 teacher with 3 aides in the room. We have currently 32 English as a new language learning students in the building, and that number is growing district-wide, as you know. We have 75 total special education students in the building. In terms of our diversity, 9% of our children are of Asian Pacific Islander descent, 25% of our children are Black or African American, 52% are white, 14% are Hispanic, and just less than 1% are Native American or Alaskan. Our staff includes 32 classroom teachers. That includes the special ed co-teachers. We have 1 full-time ENL teacher here, 2.5 reading teachers, and 1 RTI literacy coach. We have 2 full-time speech teachers, 18 teachers assistants, and that includes the self-contained rooms, shared TAs, and large class size support. And if you take just the 913 classrooms alone, that accounts for half of the TAs right there. We have 6 special area teachers in the building. We have library, we have the phys ed, we have art, music, of course, and we have .6 band and .4 orchestra teachers in the building. 2 full-time hall monitors with a 3rd one recently approved to be hired soon. And that will be someone who works at the front door to help maintain the security of the building. We have 1.5 clerk typists. We share a clerk typist with Delaware Community School. 5 maintenance workers, 2 full-time during the day and 3 in the evening. 4.5 social emotional support staffers. We have 1 social worker, 2 full-time nurses, a full-time psychologist, and a half-time behavior specialist. And now we have 2 administrators, I'm happy to say. Our school comprehensive education plan progress highlights. I just highlighted 2 items here. We are entertaining the teacher expectations and student achievement training for our teachers. This is around employing more higher order thinking questioning techniques more equitably in our everyday teaching practice. Our 5th graders right now are involved in project-based learning, one of which is where they will be crafting letters to local businesses, asking them to post our PBIS expectation posters in their businesses. So my hope is by the end of the year to have these posters, which say in our New Scotland Elementary School community, posted in some of the local businesses in this neighborhood where our catchment zone children come from. So it's the 3 B's of PBIS: be safe, be respectful, be responsible. And things like walk and move carefully, keep hands, feet, objects to yourself, wait patiently in line, hold the door for others, things that we would like to see move beyond the doors of our building. And lastly, some things to celebrate. Our new front entrance doors and sidewalks. The new front entrance doors arrived on Columbus Day weekend, and they are now fully operational with a few tweaks here and there, but we love them. They are gorgeous. They are mahogany, and they, I think, really open up the building to a much more welcome approach. So we're very pleased with that. And if you're curious about what happened to the old doors, they were donated to the Historic Albany Foundation on Lexington Avenue to live another life. And we're very happy about that. Dad's Take Your Child to School Day took place on September 20th. You see some, again, you saw some pictures on the second slide there. Very well attended. We also had a Welcome Back to School community barbecue held on Friday, September 23rd. Very nice turnout. That was catered by Giffey's Barbecue. You can see the truck, I think, in the left slide there in the bottom. We had our PBIS Welcome Back assemblies on September 8th and 9th, and we talked about the new code of conduct at that time as well. I'm thrilled to say that we now have smart technology in every grade level classroom, grades K through 5. That was quite a big undertaking, so I want to thank Nicole Lindemann and her department for helping us get that done. I did budget for it last year. Looking forward to this year, we were able to accomplish that, and I'm not going to stop there. The plan is to keep moving and have the smart technology in all the special areas as well, some of which do have it now, but not all of them. And finally, our WeatherBug weather monitoring station, which is on our roof, comes with a curriculum as well. There's an app available for your smart device. You can hopefully see, actually, I hope you saw the screen on your way in, just the front entrance at the bottom of the stairs. That's the building level monitor where the children will stop every morning and see what the weather is going to be for the day. Sunny, wet, warm, cool, but it's a lovely addition to the building, and we're the only school in Albany that has that. So if you go to get the app through the WeatherBug website, New Scotland Elementary School is the default. It goes right to us, so we're very proud of that fact. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you, Dr. Wilkins, and thank you, Mr. Amodio. Next up is public comment. The Albany Board of Education welcomes district residents, parents, students, and other people to our meeting. Community involvement at board meetings is encouraged so that we can better understand your views. Please be aware that by law, individual student information or particular personnel issues cannot be discussed at public sessions of the board. When recognized by the board president, please state your name and city of residence. Statements are restricted to a maximum of 3 minutes, and speakers will be notified by the board president when their time has expired. We take public comment very seriously, and careful notes will be taken. However, the board generally does not respond while the meeting is in public session. First up this evening is Dahlia Herring, and next she'll be followed by Yvette Alfonso.
I'm too short for that. Can you hear me all right? I just wanted to make a few comments about the middle school communication plan. And I think first I want to start by saying how delighted I was to hear Dr. Wilkins about that you had the first meeting at Hackett and that you're going to have tours, and I think that's absolutely wonderful. I also want to compliment the school district, or probably Ron Lesko and yourself, about the frequently asked questions that are in the Albany School District website. I do think there needs to be a way of making it more available to people, but what I loved about it is that it was very, very detailed and transparent. So I think that was very helpful. I just need to say, winter's coming, holidays are coming, you have a vote on January 10th, and you know me, you know that I am in the community all over the place, and through the grapevine, just in general, people don't even know that you're planning a middle school yet. So I urge you to think very carefully about how to make this as a robust communication strategy as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Herring. Next up, Ms. Alfonso, and after that, Mark Gronich.
Hey, buenas noches, and welcome to my home school. I have to say the school has been really excellent for my daughter, and well, I'm happy she's moving on, but a little sad also because of course, she'll be going to middle school, as you all know by now. Even though this does not affect her directly, I want to really ditto what Dahlia said about the communication, about making sure that we use whatever form. I know there was one little newspaper article about it a little while ago. I think we really have to push that through opinions, the columns, letters, everything possible to make sure that parents know that this is happening. I'm glad the forum taking place, of course, to start right after Thanksgiving, which becomes, the start of the holiday season, and people are very, very distracted. Our children make sure we're distracted because, of course, they want us to be out there shopping and all of the other family obligations. So it's really, really even more crucial to make sure that information gets out in as many languages as we can muster also, because we will probably have quite a melting pot at that school. I noticed that there is a section on equity here on this handout, and I'm glad to see that. I'm still concerned about that, about whether or not we're going to actually be able to do that. And so that's going to keep being a question that's going to keep coming up as we move through this process. And in terms of the vote January 10th, that's going to be really important to get the word out. It's not a very good time to have an election, as we all know, with winter and events like that. But it's really crucial that, and I just keep repeating it, but it's really, really crucial that we get out there, all of us, even us in the community, get this information out, because otherwise it's just not going to happen, or it's going to be a big surprise come September, and I don't think any of us want that. We want a smooth transition as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Alfonso. Next up, Mark Gronich. And if anyone else is interested in making a public comment, please contact Ms. Tibbetts.
Can I stand here?
Yes, thank you.
Well, hello. I wanted to introduce you to... Okay, is that better? No, that's good. Okay. So, good evening. I wanted to introduce you to an outreach program that I'm dealing with called Channel Albany. Channel Albany is a community media channel that's on channels 16, 17, and 18 with public education and government programming. And we would like your involvement, and for people in the school district to take advantage of Channel Albany, to earn a separate skill set. We would like for you to send over students, volunteers, people who can come in and learn how to run a camera, edit footage, whatever. I mean, it's so much for free that's there at your disposal. And you might say, well, how can the city of Albany provide something like this when they're running such an $18 million deficit? Well, this money comes from your cable franchise fee. It doesn't come from the city. So please take advantage of your cable bill, what you're paying on your cable bill. You're missing a golden opportunity to enhance student education. And I know President Bruce has been on this, on a show that I co-host. He's been to the studio. He knows how professional we are and how much of an asset this could be for the school board. The school board's also a stakeholder in this effort, in that you have the irrepressible Ron Lesko representing the school district on the channel's oversight board. But we need to have you realize that, there's got to be that connection where you're actually benefiting from having the channel here in the city of Albany. And we're located in the lower level of the Albany Public Library on Washington Avenue. And I would just like to, urge you to do something, to come up with some policy or some program. And I would also like for you to just have this, on your mind. I know you got a lot of things going on. It's always very busy, but it would be a great opportunity for the students, and it's for free. You like that word? It's free. So please send the students down, and our email address is channelalbany@gmail.com. Our phone number is 915-1609. I don't know, we've been blessed with those last four numbers. Who knows what 1609 means to the city of Albany? It's the Henry Hudson coming up his namesake river that year. So it's an easy phone number to remember, 915-1609. And we have a website, channelalbany.org. So please make this connection happen. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Gronich. That concludes public comment. Next up, routine consent. Can I get a motion to approve routine consent? Ms. Smith, second, Ms. Adler. Any set-asides? Ms. Roach.
Thank you. I would like to set aside items D, St. Anne Institute, items F, SMG, Times Union Center, and item R, Human Resources items.
Do you want to set aside the entire human resource items or a particular?
A particular line item, and let me find which one it. Oh. I'd like to set aside item 15, B as in boy.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to repeat them. Ms. Roach is setting aside letter D, addendum to St. Anne Institute, letter F, SMG Times Union Center, and letter R, human resource items, letter 15, or number 15B. Ms. Adler, you had set-asides also, right?
I'd like to set aside C, the CASDA contract, and E, it's actually an addendum, but to the CASDA contract, and E, the addendum on Cornell.
Okay, for Ms. Adler, that's letter C, addendum to CASDA, and letter E, Cornell University. Any other set-asides? Dr. Brandon?
I'd like to set aside F, the SMG contract.
Okay, Ms. Roach also set that aside.
Yeah, and I'd
Okay.
like to set aside I and J budget transfers.
Okay, we have a different, which one are you interested in setting aside? We have different letters, sorry. So what you're, okay, so it's budget transfers under 10,000 and budget transfers over 10,000? Okay, that'll be letter L and letter M. Okay, budget transfers under 10,000 and over 10,000 for Dr. Brandon. Are there any other set-asides? Okay, all those in favor of approving routine consent, minus letter C, letter D, letter E, letter F, letter L, letter M, letter R, number 15B. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, can I get a motion to approve letter C, addendum to CASDA? Ms. Adler, second by Ms. Roach. Discussion, Ms. Adler.
I know that Eileen Leffler's name was the one that was on here, so I'm not really sure to whom to sort of address it. So I know that this is an addendum, and I'm supporting the work that CASDA has done under the contract and the additional work that's to be done in terms of providing assistance, sort of mentorship to supervisory staff. But my concern is that, and I apologize, I don't know that this was discussed when it first came through, but we're looking again at a contract that doesn't post any measurable results, not even in a non-data-driven way. There's not even, when you go to the contract, there's not even language like administrators will even flower, for want of a better description, flowery sort of prosaic language about what we hope that at the end of this contract period will be what they attain. Is that something that can, I'm assuming we have a goal in mind. I would ask that whatever that goal is, that it be actually put into the document, even though we've already approved it, just because that's sort of the way we should be working.
We can definitely add that in. That's not a problem.
Thank you.
Could we just reference what the measurable might be?
I just want to look back because we did have CASA do a report because we did this last year and they did give us, it's qualitative at
Right.
best.
Totally.
And when they coach our administrators, it is a private coaching, but we do set some expectations around on what's supposed to happen. So I'll just check back at the measurable results we submitted from last year's, because they did do an update as to what the results were and see what those would be.
And I appreciate that. I don't expect after year one with the coaching from CASDA to see probably more than qualitative. I will say that based on some of our own data so far over the last couple of years, that I bet that in a year's time, we will actually be able to do quantitative results, because while some might say, how do you trace back the improvement? If a principal is a building leader, and we certainly do, there's criticism levied against a principal when the numbers are going in the opposite direction. The reduction in VADERS, the improvement in PBIS, and in RTI, reduction in RTI, all of those things. Let's think of that maybe not this year, but for the comeback next year, and let's give the praise where it's due, and let's figure out where the holes are.
Ms. Smith.
Yes, I just wanted to pay attention to the line that says contract amount, and there's a split. And so I know what SIG is, and I wasn't sure if that was GF. Is that grade configuration? Oh, general fund, excuse me. Okay. I just, and also then is this part of the grant where the grade configuration facilitation occurs, or is that a separate piece?
No, it's separate.
Okay, that's fine. I just needed to know what that initial was for. Thank you. Okay.
Ms. Sadler, you received sufficient information. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of CASDA, item C, it's unanimous. Thank you. Next up, item D, addendum to St. Anne Institute. Can I get a motion to approve? Item D, Ms. Roach, second by Ms. Smith. Discussion, Ms. Roach.
I just had a quick question regarding whether this was one classroom or two, because I was confused by the maximum enrollment figure of 23-year-olds, given that our pre-K classrooms are limited by law to 18 4-year-olds. Oh, I'm glad Ms. Hasty is here.
Melissa Hasty, Director of Early Childhood Education.
So actually, this is an integrated classroom that has 4 staff people in it. So it can have the ratio of, or they can have a student count of 20 children. The reason why we brought this to you was because as it being integrated, there's no way to tell initially what age group we would need. So by opening it to all 3-year-olds, if they have the need for the integrated spots to add 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds, we have the option to do that rather than limiting them to just a certain number of 3s and a certain number of 4s.
That makes complete sense. It definitely wasn't what I read, but that's helpful to know. So it could be 23-year-olds, it could be 24-year-olds, depending on the mix of who's there and who needs a slot.
Right. So it
Okay.
could. So we had originally done it as 10 3-year-olds and 10 4-year-olds
Right.
to have a multi-age classroom, but because we, the integrated spots are selected through the CPSE, we want to make sure that they have the options available.
And then since the 3-year-old students since we pay a little more for the 3-year-old students, we're paying at the higher rate for everybody.
No. So
No.
we did we did 23-year-olds so that if they have 7 4-year-olds, they'll get the rate that they get for that. But the contract will show the highest number, so it may not reach that point if there's not 23-year-olds.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay.
Further questions on this item? Okay, all those in favor of item D, addendum to St. Anne Institute? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you. Next up is item E, Cornell University. Can I get a motion to approve Cornell University, Ms. Adler, and a second by Ms. Savage? Discussion, Ms. Adler.
So Ms. McKenna, since your name was on the contract, should I direct the question to you? It's sort of the same ilk like with CASDA. Here in Cornell, there was a spot where on the measurables it says the see their education and employment outcomes improved based on the intervention services they receive. So I know that there's a difference between qualitative and quantitative, but for me that's a little too vague. I mean, obviously, I understand the outcomes will improve, but I'd like to know what our expectations are for the Promise Grant program, for the Cornell program. Oh, thank you so much, Ms. Sharp. And Coach DP, everyone's coming up. So all I really, I mean, because you don't have the delight of being at every board meeting, so we have been working towards having measurable outcomes be something that is in every contract that's for these kinds of services that are not like copying and supplies and things like that. So I understand that there was sort of a qualitative description, but I'm hoping that we can get something a little more, and I'm not even asking you for percentages, I'm just what you're looking for to see why you'd be coming back to us next year and asking for a similar intervention or a similar service.
Can we just introduce you guys first? Debbie Sharp, Director of Special Education. And Joey DiPiazza. And Joey.
Try it again. Deb Sharp, Director of Special Education.
Joey DiPiazza, I'm the Transition Coordinator and Lead Project Coordinator for Promise. So to answer some of your questions, the intervention services, and it's listed on there, I think on page 3 or 4, there are certain intervention services tied into the grant. So some students receive the specific intervention services. Now, as far as I think the data and results that you're looking for, numbers, the overall goal of the grant is to make sure that students, are staying in school, they're enrolled. So we tried to put a percentage on that, and I think if you see in the document, all of the students that are currently enrolled in Promise are enrolled in school. I don't know if that answers.
I do remember there being like that there were numbers even before that all the kids were enrolled, that 64%, that we met the goal of actually signing the kids up even earlier, so and then went into a wait period. So I do see that.
And there's like different phases of the grants. Like there was one goal when we originally received it, it was a recruiting goal. So there's different phases, and so that's why the goals will change from time to time. And also just know this is money that we receive from Cornell. It doesn't cost the district any dollars.
Right, I do understand that. Maybe what we can do is if this is something that's going to continue, maybe in the next time there's a contract on it, we can just have a list with an outline of each of the different goals that across the life of the program we will be meeting, and at least have that as a reference point.
Okay, and we'll put it in the board update for when this period's over for the grant.
And of course, in your introduction, there was one thing left off. So for the first winning season in football in 11 years.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion on the Cornell University contract? Okay, all those in favor to approve Cornell University? Okay, that's unanimous. Next up, SMG Times Union Center. Can I get a motion to approve? Ms. Adler and a second by Ms. Smith. Discussion, Ms. Roach.
I just had some questions about the prospect of moving the Albany High School commencement from where it's been currently at the University of Albany, Sefcu Arena, downtown to the Times Union Center. I guess in order to know whether this potential $20,000 expense is money well spent, I would like to know what the current cost is of having graduation at SUNY, and also what are the reasons for the proposed change.
So we can get the cost of the venue from prior years. I don't have that right now, but the reason for moving from the former venue to is because we've seen an increase in graduation, the number of students graduating, which means we have an increase in the number of those attending the graduation ceremony, which is a good thing.
Are we getting close to capacity then?
Yes. Last year, there was almost like.
Last year it was standing room only.
It
Okay.
was almost standing only. And also the sound system is not very good, and it's a little bit difficult to work with the SUNY folks also at the same time, trying to get everything done. So we love our SUNY family, we love them greatly, but it's time to go to a bigger venue. We're ready. We're looking at a much bigger class this year, so we have more people attending.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Brandon.
I had also set this aside for the same questions that Ellen has asked. So thank you for going there, Ellen. I had one additional. If you do move it to Times Union Arena, what about the parking? Has that been taken into consideration, or has it been looked at? Because, and so what did you come up with? I see a lot of heads bobbing over there.
Yeah, so we did take that into consideration, and it is included in the cost. The parking garage.
And it will accommodate?
Yes.
Okay, and you're going to find out what we're paying currently for SEFCU. I was there at the last one. It was comfortably full. It didn't look like they were coming out the woodwork, but you know, I guess as we grow, this definitely should be taken into consideration, but the parking thing just looked kind of crazy to me. But thank you for your information.
So,
Ms. Savage. I also had that same question, and I just wondered, do we need to approve this tonight in the absence of that information? Is there a time sensitivity to approving this contract?
No, I don't think so.
okay, we'd like to table it until we have the comparative analytics. And also just the capacity numbers. I believe they're like 4,500 versus 14,000, but I'd like to know that as well. Okay. So we can just move to table the motion. Ms. Adler and second by Ms. Smith. All those in favor? Okay, the motion's tabled. We'll bring that back at an upcoming board meeting. Next up is letter L, budget transfers under 10,000. Dr. Brandon, and can I get a motion to approve? Ms. Smith and a second by Ms. Savage. Dr. Brandon, discussion?
Yes, on the over 10,000.
How about if we just go with over?
I'm going with the over, okay?
And
Just
we'll-
flip to the next one on the screen.
Okay, hold on,
We're going,
we'll table the motion for letter L. Can we do that? All those in favor of tabling the motion? Ms. Savage recommends the motion, and Ms. Adler second. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. And now we'll start with letter M. Budget transfers over 10,000. Can I get a motion to approve? Ms. Roach and a second by Ms. Smith. Dr. Brandon, proceed.
oh, thank you, Mr. President. You have on here, and I guess I'm addressing Mr. Hogan. $30,000 to cover the legal expenses incurred from the audit of the Brooklyn Classroom Theater. Where is that money coming from?
We're actually we're actually transferring money from the unemployment insurance line to, the good news is our unemployment costs are down. We're on a direct reimbursement. We are having trouble being fully employed, so we should have some excess funds in there to cover those expenses as described.
So that's where the money's coming to pay for that audit,
Correct.
from our unemployment insurance?
Right, we actually believe we will not need what we have budgeted, all of that amount.
All right, now I'm ready to move to the under 10,000.
Okay, wait,
You got to vote on this one separate, okay?
yes, we do. My question, though, is, this is a part of our routine annual audits. Don't we have an audit line for that?
This particular expense was a special project that the Board of Education wanted to pursue. It wasn't a normal auditing expense. Our normal audits are like our year-end financial statements, our regular internal audits with the audit firm.
I thought we were doing this as part of the internal audit process.
Can I answer that? No, never mind. This is something that we discussed as part of the audit committee, and my understanding was that our auditing firm, as accountants, handled the routine audit, but that they also wanted some legal experts to provide a legal opinion on some of the issues regarding the audit. So this is money, if I understand correctly, that's going to the law firm that handled the legal end of it, but not the auditing accountants. Is that correct?
That is correct. It also, there will also be an auditing bill because this was an entire project. It wasn't part of the normal internal audit things that we do.
Understood.
You okay? The reason this caught my eye is because I'm reading your transfers a little closer, because the actual transfer that you put in for this classroom, none of us, I guess, really caught. So since then, I'm reading your transfers a little more careful. But I guess I accept your answer as to why you're using the funds that you're using, but it would seem to me that it would be a normal audit expense. But I guess you know what you're talking about. I'm finished with it.
Okay, well, I would like to express my problem with this in that I have questions that have yet to be answered. I didn't fully understand the expense of the audit. I thought we actually had a contract with the legal firm who was doing this audit. Did we not appropriate money at the time for that?
No, the decision was made, as I understand it, because this was a board directive, was to hire this firm and have them do this project, and now we have to pay for it. So it's a budget transfer. We have to look somewhere in the budget to identify funding that potentially we won't need to cover the expense. But it's not a routine, all of our routine audit bills that we normally have and we budgeted, we will still have those this year.
Mr. Bruce, or President Bruce, as you know, this was a special project from the Board of Education that was a decision made by the board and directed by the board. I don't mean this in a bad way, but sort of above Mr. Hogan's level. He's simply now just allocating the money to pay for the board's directed report, which you know will be topic of further conversation down the road.
Yes, it will. And I just want to express my continued dissatisfaction with this process. And I'll leave it at that at the moment. All those in favor? Okay, that's Smith, Roach, Lang, Savage, Adler, and Brandon. Opposed, President Bruce. Thank you.
Mr. Bruce, we need more time.
Okay, can I get a motion to extend the time? Ms. Smith, what's your motion? We have two more topics, let's say 10 minutes. Second by Ms. Roach. All those in favor to extend? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Dr. Brandon, we need a motion to approve budget transfers under $10,000. Can I get a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so we'll bring it back to the table. All right, discussion, Dr. Brandon. Do we have to vote to bring it back to the table?
I think I'm talking.
We actually, hold on one second. We have to vote to bring the motion, previous motion back to the floor. All those in favor? Okay, Ms. Lang, yeah, Ms. Roach. Okay, it's unanimous, thank you. Dr. Brandon, discussion.
On page 2, Mr. Hogan, the last item. Transportation fuel to cover the cost of training and conference expenses for who?
As I think most of you are aware, this summer there was 100% turnover of staff in the transportation department, 3 staff. So what we want to do is to allocate funding so that they can become well-versed in the transportation software. So this is just training for staff in the transportation department.
So I'm just going to say this in general about your descriptions on your budget transfers. You need to go into just a little more detail. They're kind of too vague. I think that's the reason why the black box one got by us in the first place, because of the way you word your descriptions. You need to be a little more definitive and make sure that you're putting something down there that we will all, that'll flag us and things won't slip through the cracks. Basically, that's what I'm saying. Because this tells me to cover the cost of training. So what? Could it be for the little kitties running around outside? You know, the little animals or something? So you need to be a little more definitive in your descriptions on these budget transfers. Thank you, Hon. I appreciate it.
Any further discussion on budget transfers under $10,000? Okay, all those in favor to approve budget transfers under $10,000, letter L, it's unanimous. Thank you. Next up, human resource items, letter 15B. It's Ms. Roach. Can I get a motion to approve? Motion by Ms. Roach and a second by Ms. Lang. Discussion, Ms. Roach.
No discussion.
Okay, all right, thank you. All those in favor of human resource items? Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Smith, sorry about that.
Sir, I need to recuse myself from voting on this particular individual. She happens to be my daughter.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so all those in favor for human resources items, item 15B, it's Roach, Lang, Savage, Adler, Bruce, and Brandon. No one is opposed. Abstentions? Ms. Smith. Okay, thank you. Okay, that concludes routine consent. I guess there was just one item that needs additional information, Ms. Tibbetts, which is item C, right? No, we're going to bring back item F back, but your approval of C was contingent upon. Oh, okay. Straight motion, no. Okay, all right. That works, okay. Next up, item 6, discussion action, superintendent search consultant, contract approval. Ms. Savage.
So most people who've been following this know that we, as a board, came to the conclusion that we wanted to do a full and complete search for the best possible superintendent, and that we wanted to do that with the assistance of an outside third party who could guide us through that process, because it is the most critical decision that any organization makes, is the selection of its leader. We had considered our local BOCES, which would have done this work at zero cost to the district, which would have obviously been our preference. That group declined the opportunity to participate because they felt that their existing relationships with other superintendents would prohibit them from recruiting the best possible candidates on our behalf. We therefore submitted an RFP to all of the qualified vendors that we could find in the state of New York, were direct mailed. We interviewed 3 candidates, and after careful consideration, selected the Western New York Educational Service Council for this work, and that is the contract that is before us tonight.
Any other discussion?
I meant to add on, I should have written my remarks down, but there's really only one more thing, that this is just the assigning of the contract. The very next step would be an initial meeting with the board and the consultants to determine the process, and from that meeting will become public information about how the process will work. This will be an open and transparent process, and you will know as soon as we can what the process will look like. And that obviously is not coming today, because that is coming after we sign the contract and meet with the consultant and define the process. Then we will put that information forward.
Dr. Brandon.
Ms. Savage, is there a copy of this contract for people to see? Or is it just
Yes,
in
ma'am,
board
it's
docs?
on the screen right now,
Is
and
it
it's on
just
board
in-
docs.
And it's in board docs too, okay, just double check.
Ms. Lang.
And I just want to say thank you to Dr. Wilkins for your remarks regarding the search and the process as well.
Dr. Brandon.
I would like to openly thank Ms. Savage for taking the reins on this, even as late as it was, because this really should have been undertaken probably in the spring of this year instead of the fall going into the winter. But you grabbed the bull by the horn, and I personally appreciate that, because we told the public back in January our plan as a board. We voted it through unanimously to do this, and you reached in and took it, and I truly appreciate it, and I just pray that things work well as you go through the process. I truly appreciate that.
Okay. I would like to make a statement to explain my abstention in this contract, notwithstanding Dr. Wilkins' remarks about her decision regarding applying for the superintendent position. We have 99 problems, but a superintendent ain't one. My unequivocal vote is to immediately offer Dr. Wilkins a job as the permanent superintendent. Dr. Wilkins stepped into a challenging and tumultuous situation with a calm demeanor, and she's fulfilled her duties with style and grace. As a state-mandated receiver, she developed a plan to manage and monitor the work and the results, and also developed a reporting structure and timeline in line with New York State education expectations. Her education plans are easy to understand, actionable, and measurable, and they are tied directly to our budget process and to our district and school improvement plans. She's moved towards putting the right people in the right positions. She's reorganized and replaced several members of the district leadership team, including the assistant superintendent, chief information officer, and new heads of human resources, transportation, pupil personnel services, and she's helped develop 2 new school principals. She's hired and acclimated the staff required for the New York State Attorney General's assurance agreement. Then she led the work to develop and redevelop the code of conduct and implement preventative strategy plan. She's been responsive to the board's needs and has aligned her work with our priorities, and she's provided relevant, evaluative, academic information in a timely fashion. She's increased district-level support as well as accountability in individual schools. She's led us through 2 votes, including a very challenging and problematic February election, and she's developed an effective election plan and process for a May budget vote, which was a comfortable vote for everyone. We're in the midst of such significant challenges. We're at the end of a 2-year receivership at Albany High School and Philip Schuyler Academy. We're in the middle of a significant grade reconfiguration, which includes another wintertime referendum. And we also have, as I mentioned, the Attorney General assurance agreement. She's provided honest appraisals. She's delivered results. Her commitment to a career in Albany has provided her with the knowledge of our students, our families, our employees, our buildings, our city, and our politics. Her experience allows her to get things done. And maybe most important to me, another person born and raised in Albany, is her desire to provide an equitable education for all of Albany's children. And it's not just that I believe in her, our community believes in her. I was elected to create the best opportunity for Albany's children, and I believe that Dr. Wilkins represents this best opportunity. Now is not the time to fix something that is not broken. That's it. Ms. Sadler.
Like Jen Lang, I wanted to thank you, Dr. Wilkins, for your statement. And I also wanted to tell you that certainly agree with everything that Mr. Bruce has said, but it is with the utmost of respect earned from the years at Myers when my child was there that I understand what you have told us and the importance of what you feel the legitimacy of a search does to be a candidate in a full search if you choose to do that. And we only have to look at Bethlehem Central School District to see that the acting superintendent there went through a full search for the very same professional reasons, and in fact was ultimately named the superintendent. You came into this role at a very contentious time, and there were ugly things said, and there were placards written, and you took it all like the strong woman that you are. And one of the reasons that it was such a relief that you stepped into that was I knew that you would lay down your life for the babies in this district, as you call them, and you still would. And it is so with that kind of respect that I have for you that I understand that it is a very serious decision, and look forward to hearing ultimately what your decision is, but it does not take away from the fact that you have been very much a lifesaver for the staff, for the families, for the children that you serve here. So thank you.
Ms. Roach.
I just kind of wanted to ask you to be clear about, because you're acting as president at this meeting, to kind of clarify that your statement about Dr. Wilkins and your comments about the search process, if I understand correctly, well, are those of you as an individual, correct?
Correct. I was just explaining why I will abstain from the vote for West New York Educational Council. And I will yield to the majority of the board and abide by and support the search process as I've done throughout this process. I just want to go on record with my statement. Is there any further discussion? We actually need a motion. Okay, Ms. Roach, do you have a motion? Okay, wait, we need a motion.
So I move to approve the contract with Western New York Educational Service Council.
Okay, motion by Ms. Roach, second by Ms. Smith. No further discussion, I guess. All those in favor? I'm sorry. Smith, Roach, Lang, Savage, Adler, and Brandon. Opposed? No one, and abstention? Bruce. Thank you. Okay, next discussion item, or next item, discussion action facilities, change orders.
Yes, you have in your packet 5 small change orders. 2 are for Harriet Gibbons, 1 is for Ash, 2 are for New Scotland Elementary. These were just small items. We had construction, as you know, all summer in about 10 buildings. These were just little things that came toward the end of the project that were identified that we should include while the people were on site working. So I guess I would open it up if there were any questions on any of these transfers. And Rich Peckham is also available too, if you need real detailed information.
Any discussion on change orders? Okay, I do have a question. The resolution that provides the authority for the board to actually act on change orders, is there something other than the document that was provided to us this week from 2003?
No, the one in 2003 doesn't have an expiration date.
Except that it mentions that its sole purpose was actually to support the capital improvement project that began in 2003.
Mr. Bruce, having been the architect of that resolution at that time during that capital project, I have been in conversation with both the superintendent and Mr. Hogan about the need to revisit that resolution, and would suggest that we use the existing board process of working that through the facilities committee with a recommendation back to the Board of Education. So in essence, he's presenting change orders for board approval that would not have been presented for board approval under the previous resolution.
Right, except seemingly the previous resolution has expired.
It had no expiration date in it, so it did not expire. There was nothing in the language that expired the resolution. Mr. Bruce, I note your comment. I wrote and was present as counsel at the time. Clearly, that was a resolution written at the time of that, and I forget the amount, but it was a significant dollar value capital project in the school district. So it certainly references that's why the resolution came about. It, by its terms, does not have an expiration. Having said that, Mr. Bruce, I believe it needs to be revisited so that the current board, none of whom were on the board back then, can have a similar conversation about whether and to what extent they wish to adopt those kinds of thresholds. That's been my conversation with the superintendent and Mr. Hogan.
Okay, thank you. I have a statement on that as well. In a July Facilities Committee meeting, the district's architect, who provides services under professional contract, recommended that we revisit this resolution that provides guidance around when and up to what dollar amount the school district's contractors and leadership team can approve expenditures without board approval. I agreed with this recommendation, and hearing no opposition from the other board members in the meeting, I brought this recommendation forward to the Agenda Committee. At the next Agenda Setting Committee meeting, there was insufficient support by the other two officers who make up the committee to get this important item onto an upcoming agenda. I followed up my effort with an email to the full board and then a discussion in executive session to express the importance of having this as a publicly discussed agenda item to create an updated process and procedures related to this topic. On having this as a publicly discussed agenda item to create an updated, on September 1st, I felt that it was so important that I requested that an agenda item at the end of the meeting during board member items. And as I expressed then, I believe that the need for a board presentation is urgent. There was sufficient support that evening to recognize it as important enough for a future agenda, but there still has been insufficient support on the Agenda Setting Committee to get it onto an actual agenda. I learned a new topic last week at the NYSBA conference, parliamentary obstructionism. This antiquated resolution, which we seemingly use to guide our actions today, creates clear approval authority specifically for our previous multi-year, multi-project capital project. Those are actually the terms in the resolution. That project ended in 2010. The resolution is from 13 years ago and includes a leadership team position which no longer exists. The specificity of the resolution means that it was not meant to guide actions and decisions today. Why is this issue so important? This determines when and up to what dollar amount that school district's contractors and leadership team can approve expenditures without board approval. Basically, it's what determines when and who can spend the people's money without the people's representatives' approval. It is extremely important that each and every board member understand and that this board reaches its own determination through public discussion and a board vote to reestablish parameters under which actions and expenditures take place prior to our approval. We need a new resolution or policy that provides guidance for all change orders, district staff decisions, facility committee recommendations. It needs to guide anyone or any entity which can spend the people's money prior to a board vote.
Mr. Bruce, we're out of time.
Okay, why don't I just skip to the end? It's extremely upsetting to have to go through these great lengths as an elected representative of this city, the president and chief fiscal officer of this board, to get such an important issue onto the board agenda. We have 99 problems, and this actually is one of them.
I believe there are other board members who have comments to make. I'd like to make a motion for an additional 5 minutes of time on this topic.
Motion by Ms. Savage, second by Ms. Adler. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Savage. Oh, Ms. Roach.
I just wanted to clarify one point. You mentioned that that the issue of change orders was brought before the Facilities Committee in August with a suggestion that it be brought in the future before the board as a whole. My understanding was simply that our procedures on change orders were brought to the Facilities Committee simply to discuss and revise if necessary. I'll also point out that the Facilities Committee meetings also are open to the public and are listed on the district website. We do typically have at least one member of the public attending those meetings. I do not recall that it was ever suggested that the change order procedures be revisited by the board as a whole. My understanding of the board is the reason we have specific committees is so they can actually handle smaller issues such as this, so as not to take up the time as a board as a whole. So that is, I believe you may be misremembering exactly what that was suggested at that meeting. Thanks.
Let me just respond to this for a moment. I'm absolutely.
You used a lot, let other people speak. You used a lot of the time.
She assumed I misremembered. I did not. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Brandon.
If you let me talk, I can get you. I can't agree with Ms. Roach. I definitely remember getting an email requesting your dissatisfaction with that policy, I guess it's called? Resolution. I also remember, I think a copy of it was sent to a hard copy. I believe a hard copy was sent to each of us. Mine is home somewhere. And I did look at it because the old date was on it. I do remember you requesting, I think via email, that we have a presentation on it by the contractors or something about change orders. You wanted to know why it was the way it was. And I think my question to you, and I don't know if I ever asked it to you or not, I might have in a facilities meeting. I really couldn't tell from the way you were asking your question exactly what you were after, Mr. President, in your delving into change orders, because, I think I remember what I said. Ever since I've been on the board, change orders have always been done the way they've been done. And has never been a question, to my knowledge, that there could have been something off with the change order procedure or the change order process. So that's why when I got the email from you, and then the hard copy of that thing came through in an update packet, I believe, I couldn't quite understand exactly what you were after or what you were trying to prove, even by having a presentation on it. I know it kind of sort of died. I don't know why it died or how it died, but I know nothing ever became of it. So I will have to just say it the way I remember it, okay? And if you can tell us or what exactly you're looking for with it, what's wrong with it that you think needs to be changed. You've made a lot of broad statements in your dialogue there that we are not so sure. Some of them might be correct and some may not, but we need to, maybe we need to get the bottom of it. I guess that's what I'm after.
Thank you. Ms. Adler.
We are a board of 7, and as a board of 7, each one of us at any given time has something that is just critically important possibly to him or to her, but maybe on a list of 1 through 10, number 4 or number 3 or number 2. To somebody, it's the safety of children where maybe they've left the school and gone out and been walking down the street and no one knows that they've left. To others, it's safety in the playground. To others, it's people actually not having a Spanish teacher for 6 months or 5 months or 4 months at the high school. So every board member and all constituents have sometimes overlapping needs, but sometimes diverse needs. The fact that you thought or think that change orders is the most critical thing that needs to be the first thing moving off of a list of board member items that we keep up to date is just your personal opinion. It doesn't mean it's not important, but there are also other important things on that agenda item, on those board member items. When we have agenda meetings, we look to make sure that we are not going until 11 or 12 o'clock at night. We've had complaints about that. We've tried to cut back. We are now trying to get program information taken care of. So the idea that this is what is most important to you, that's okay, I'm not going to judge it, but there are equally important things, and as Ellen said the night the board member item came up, there is a process and things have been waiting a long time to move off board member items. We are now down to a smaller list, and it will come up, and it should be up in the next few months, the fact that it didn't meet your guideline. The other thing that is seriously problematic for you to say at a public board meeting against what you have been told by every person on this board and council is that you are the chief fiscal officer of this district. The chief financial officer of this district is something you stood up and said when we had the pool groundbreaking at Albany High School. And that was untrue then, it was untrue, and you continue to say it. And council has told you Bill Hogan, the assistant superintendent for business affairs, is the chief fiscal officer. I have checked with NISBA, I have checked with council, and you are just wrong. There are things in life for which one's opinion is their opinion, but it flies in the face of fact. And that is just an untrue statement. You continue to say it in a way that as if it is just fact, and it's not, Mr. Bruce. You're not the CFO of this district.
Mr. Bruce, we are out of time. I know I have one thing I want to say. I don't know if other people have things that they want to say. Do you think 5 is enough? Do we think 5 is enough? Mr. Bruce, how long do you plan to speak?
I think 10 is probably.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion for 10 minutes of a time extension.
Okay, motion by Ms. Savage, a second by Ms. Adler. All those in favor? Okay, that looks like it's unanimous.
So I would like to bring us back to the practical realities of moving this discussion forward. I believe that the most sensible thing that I have heard said today is that this belongs in the Facilities Committee, where people who are on the Facilities Committee and are dealing with these change orders in and day out when they meet on a routine basis. They are now meeting monthly as we enter this very complicated period for us in facilities, that is the best place for the longer term discussion about how change orders should be handled. Our board meetings should be to consider as a board the recommendation of the Facilities Committee, and I encourage the Facilities Committee to take up that question.
Ms. Roach? Okay. Anybody else? I would like to respond to Ms. Adler. If I said financial officer, I am sorry. I meant fiscal officer, and I do believe that's accurate, but we can follow up and bring that back in another meeting. Ms. Roach, in the July meeting, we did discuss that specifically. Mr. Peckham brought it forward as something that it was recommended that we discuss in a future board meeting. I then took that as a hearing no objection from the other 2 board members, you and Dr. Brandon. I moved it forward to agenda setting. Okay, so I just wanted to respond to those points and clarify. Is there any further discussion on this topic? Dr. Brandon.
I would like to know what we are going to do. Is it going to be discussed and evaluated in facilities and a report made to the board, brought out to the board? Because I think what you had originally asked for was that a presentation be made to the full board. I think that's what you're email said.
In the Facilities Committee, we discussed it and suggested that it should be a topic for the full board.
I thought I remember hearing that somewhere along the line, but now we've changed that, is that correct?
We want to send it back to the Facilities Committee for a third time, is what we want
For
to do.
evaluation? Well, we'll have to evaluate the whole thing and bring the policy back. Okay. And then bring it back to the board to report out.
Okay.
The way, just really quick, Mr. Bruce, the way committee structures have worked, and we've discussed that we, as a board, at least during our tenure, are trying to work by committee, which is the proper way to do it so that board meetings don't run long. And this happened when we did, and I'm going to get the letters wrong, Mr. Bruce, MWSBE. Thank you, for the high school project. There was a recommendation made by the Facilities Committee where at committees there should be more in-depth, more discussion about items, sort of like with policy. It comes to us with a recommendation. We can certainly, like with a policy, say, no, we don't want to go with what you've given us. We want to do some wordsmithing. But for the most part, the committees work well if you trust your people and they're on a committee, and we have 3 solid board members on committee now for facilities. When Dr. Brandon leaves, someone else will join. So we trust that the recommendations coming from that committee will be given good deference, usually by the board. So I would like to see us do committee work like we started to do with policy and keep it going for facilities and for audit, so that the people who do it day in and day out and have the meetings monthly or bi-monthly come to us with a reasoned expectation that their recommendation will be given deference.
Right, so it started in the Facilities Committee. It will go back to the Facilities Committee for the 3rd time, and then we'll come forward with a recommendation, hopefully. It started in July, it's now November.
Why is it the 3rd time? I guess I'm confused. I don't remember a recommendation from the Facilities Committee that was brought to us. I mean, I know that you sent an email, but it wasn't as though, to me, it was a committee that brought to us to make a decision.
No, the Facilities Committee, it was discussed in the Facilities Committee in July. Our district architect made a recommendation. I suggested that was a great idea. The 2 other board members didn't say that they were opposed to it. We did not vote. It came then to the agenda setting committee. Agenda setting did not have the desire to hear the topic. That's fine. There are many other topics, as Ms. Adler said. I then restated that I felt it was extremely important, given all the work that was done in the district. I brought it to the full board. The full board referred it back to the Facilities Committee. I went back to the Facilities Committee with it. At that point, there was only 1 vote to move it forward from the Facilities Committee because the other 2 board members didn't support bringing it forward. And now today, we're asked to actually act on
And that's your point. The Facilities Committee did not at that time support bringing it forward to the full board. End of story.
Okay, but then we have no established process.
We do. It's been there since 2003. You personally disagree that it is the established process, but we have the Facilities Committee and District Council saying this is the established process and it's still currently in effect.
Okay, just to be like another, I now understand what I'm hearing. So I would suggest that what we do is we send it back to the Facilities Committee and take the resolution, update the resolution, whether we do it with council present or whether the Facilities Committee does it and then actually everybody weighs in rather than anyone being silent. Make a decision one way or the other. Do we update the resolution? Do we go with something other than the resolution? In other words, it's up to, while you're still here, Dr. Brandon, there's 1 more meeting for you before you get off this board. You're not done yet. Let's send it back to committee, figure out if the committee is saying stick with the resolution or taking Mr. Bruce's suggestions, make sure that it is clear as to what it applies to, or basically if there are problems with it, like a policy, say, this clause I don't like, that clause I don't like. We'll get it then wordsmithed by our council into the right form, and you will bring it back, hopefully with a majority of you saying we support this being what we do moving forward.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that. We'll send it back to facilities for the third time.
We have a facilities meeting on the 9th.
Okay, and I
Mr.
would-
President?
Yes.
We have a facilities meeting on the 9th. Mr. Hogan, can you put that on the agenda, please?
Yeah.
Put that on the agenda for the 9th. So, because we have a bad habit of losing stuff, not completing it, dropping balls, and that's what's happened with this mess. So will you put it on the agenda for the meeting on the 9th so we can get this one put to bed? Thank you.
Okay, so I have one more statement. We have over 1,500 employees who focus on child's needs, student achievement. There are just 7 board members here who are focused on the money, who are fiduciaries for the school district. We're elected representatives of the community. So if we're actually comparing what's important versus what's not important, we are the only ones involved in this organization tasked with this role. And I take it very seriously.
As do we all, Mr. Bruce. That is the responsibility
do we
of all of
all.
us, and we all take our responsibilities very seriously. We do, each of us, our very best for the taxpayers and the students in this district. We each do.
That would be Dr. Rose Brandon, Sue Adler, Ann Savage, Jennifer Lang, Ellen Roach, and Vicki Smith. Thank you.
Okay, let's get to the business at hand, change orders. Can we take them as a group? Okay, it seems like that's fine. Can I get a motion to approve the 3 change orders? Ms. Adler and a second by Ms. Roach. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Mr. Bruce, there's 5 on here. This was updated and put on today.
Okay. Just bear with me. Have other people looked at the second 2 change orders? I actually didn't see them.
One of them was for $2,151 at Harriet Gibbons, dealing with the sidewalk. And the other one was $2,043, and that was at Harriet Gibbons as well, over a section over a door.
Okay, so it was Harriet Gibbons and
It's actually the first one and the third one.
the first one and the third one.
Could
The
I
third
make
one
a,
is the
can I make
door.
a suggestion that we rescind we withdraw the prior motion and remove on the 5 so that we get all 5 in one?
Didn't we already vote on the 3?
Yes, and I'm proposing that we withdraw that vote and vote again on the 5 so it's all in one vote.
Okay, motion by Ms. Adler, Ms. Savage, second by Ms. Adler. All those in favor of removing and redoing? Okay, that's unanimous, thank you. Okay, so it's the Harriet Gibbons, and the other one that was added late was
Right.
lintel on the door at Harriet Gibbons.
Right.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of the 5 change orders, we need a motion. A motion by Ms. Adler, second by Ms. Smith for the 5 change orders. All those in favor? Dr. Brandon, okay, it's unanimous, thank you. Okay. Next up, library bond refunding. And there is a resolution that is rather long. Bill, you want to give us the essence of it?
Just as a very quick overview, the library has its own funding, its own budget, its own public vote. We collect taxes for them, and what the library wants to do is refinance some bonds with DASNY, similar to what we have done to save money. But in order to do that, DASNY is asking the library to have us direct all tax payments to DASNY instead of directly to the library or to a trustee on behalf of DASNY. So it has no impact on our financial standing or our financial statements. It's simply, if you will, the library and DASNY are asking us to redirect the library taxes we collect for them to a trustee. And then the trustee will take the bond money payments first and forward all the rest of the money to the library.
And thank you. I asked the question last board meeting about the embedded swap, and so it seems that we are neither the issuing authority nor the trustee nor anything else. We're just acting as agent and collecting the library's funds.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on the library's bonds? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve this particular resolution, which begins as, whereas the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York, and it is available on the screen and available on board docs. Motion by Ms. Savage and a second by Ms. Smith. All those in favor? Okay, it's Ms. Roach, are you? It's unanimous, thank you. Next up, budget calendar.
Okay, this is a draft as a discussion item of a budget calendar for the 2017-18 calendar, our budget development. There is one change. We did find 3 years ago, we started having the principals give a budget presentation in every building. We're finding that they're very low attended. 7 of the buildings had between 0 and 3 people last year. So this calendar does not reflect those meetings. But last week, as Cabinet was discussing it further, we thought it would be better to add perhaps 4 regional budget presentations by the principals. So that is the addendum that was added to this. So the budget calendar that you got initially, it would be expanded a little bit for 4 locations would have a budget presentations by teams of principals in March 6th and 7th. That's the recommendation from staff.
Okay, any discussion? Ms. Savage.
I fully support that recommendation by staff. I think that that it's been clear to me, and we talked about this at the last budget calendar, that we need to redirect our central administration staff in a very focused way. There are very few of you, and there has been a significant number of administrative cuts over the last 10 years during the most significant lean times in this district. So allocating our central staff resources in the most efficient way possible, I think, is an excellent recommendation. I do not think it hurts the transparency of this process because those meetings were extremely poorly attended, and because when people come to those meetings, they really need to be able to ask the detailed-oriented questions that they want to be able to ask, and it's best for them to be able to ask those as central staff. My only question about this calendar, and I'm not going to formulate it that well, is that I recall at the last year that we got fairly far down the budget process, and then we were kind of stalled out waiting to get the actual state aid runs. And so we adjusted the process towards the end, pushing some of our decision-making out so that we would reduce the number of hypotheticals we were considering, because it's not really an effective use of board or staff time to be processing through a lot of hypotheticals. And so I just wondered if you could speak to whether you considered that as in the way you prepared the budget calendar. We can always change it on the fly as we did last year, but that was something that we did have to change last year.
Yes, last time we did cancel a meeting because exactly what you said. At that point in time, it didn't make sense to have yet another budget meeting, not knowing what the revenues were. At this, certainly that was a consideration. We're on this schedule. March 16th is obviously mid-March, and there's one planned for 3:30 toward the end of the month. We probably will not have state aid on March 30th, but there probably will be some housekeeping things on the 30th that maybe we want to tune up based on feedback on the 16th. So in this case, I think it's okay to plan on the 30th. We do have 2 shots if we need them in April 6th and April 12th. So if the state aid came in on the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, if we couldn't wrap it up on the 6th, we can still have a second meeting. If all goes well on the 30th, I mean, it could be a short meeting. And if there isn't any housekeeping things, we could cancel it.
Ms. Adler.
I apologize if this is in the budget documents you gave us, but will we still respond if a neighborhood association asks for a presentation? Will we still respond and do that?
Yeah, the way this is laid out, there'll be approximately 24 public meetings, 14 of which will be prior to the board adopting the budget, and then we do, as you suggest, on request, typically around 8 to 10 presentations throughout the community that really is helping to explain what people are actually voting on, what's in the budget. So that would continue.
And I appreciate it. I also want to tell you that I do support the changes you made, just as Ms. Savage said. And it's nice to actually see a lot of people in the audience tonight, but I'm sure all of them are here to do a presentation on special ed. So you're captive. But for those who are actually here, this is not only great to get this budget process at this point in time at the very first November meeting, but what has often been pointed out is that even as people will still criticize when we're doing or how often we're doing the presentations compared to our colleagues out in other districts, the number of meetings that we have, public presentations, and the response to, for example, neighborhood associations is really, really quite extensive. And so I just want to again thank you and have no problem with the regional meetings being led in that way.
Okay.
Other discussion around the budget calendar? Nope. Okay. That was just a discussion, so on to the next topic, special education. Good evening again, Ms. Sharp. Can you introduce your colleagues, please? Andre, be careful over there.
Good evening, Superintendent Wilkins, Board of Education, community members and staff, welcome. We're here tonight to present our special education program review. Before I begin, though, I want to bring to your attention the yellow folder you received. It has additional information, such as the enrollment of students with disabilities by disability category.
Ms. Sharp, I hate to interrupt. Could you just introduce your colleagues?
Yes, I was.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
It's part
Yep.
of your.
Yep.
Okay, got it. Okay, sorry.
Nope. Definitions of the 13 disability categories and a breakdown of the special education budget. And on my right, we have Elaine Greisler, Interim Assistant Director of Special Education. And I'd like to introduce to you, because I don't think you've met yet, Katie Magel, our new Interim CSE Committee on Special Education Chairperson.
Welcome.
What is special education? It is specially designed, individualized, or group instruction, which includes special programs and services which address the needs of students with disabilities.
Currently, the district provides a continuum of services or an array of programs ranging from supports in the general education setting to special class programs, and these programs are recommended based on consideration of the least restrictive environment. We've opened 10 elementary special class programs this year that have focused on supporting students with behavioral needs and students who are diagnosed with autism. The staff within these programs have developed similar to like a PLC or professional learning community, and they support monthly meetings, professional development, and host events like the Autism Fair and Special Olympics. Many of these new classrooms were needed to mitigate over-enrollment stemming from new entrants and also preschool to kindergarten transitions. So last year, 6 variances were submitted to the State Education Department due to over-enrollment. This year, we are already in the process of completing 7 variances. So this chart highlights the total population of students with disabilities. As you can see in the top row, the majority of our students are programmed for in-district. In addition to this total population, we also provide services to about 300 preschool students with disabilities. And also know on the bottom that the district's current classification rate of 11% continues to remain below the state target of 12%. There's also been a decrease in the number of students recommended for out-of-district programming, such as BOCES or day treatment. The Special Education Department has opened new classrooms to help with the over-enrollment, but also built new programs in response to, or rather new programs tailored to student learner characteristics. So this reduction in the number of students recommended for out-of-district programming has resulted in a cost savings to the district, which enables us to build new programs from year to year. The department has seen an overall increase in staff, including special education teachers, teaching assistants, and a speech therapist. We also added 2 new positions this year, a special education instructional coach and an assistive technology specialist.
State testing performance remains a heavy lift for students with disabilities. With the addition of an assistive technology specialist and an elementary special education instructional coach, the department is focusing on student growth to improve proficiency through the use of technology and targeted direct instruction. At data team meetings, student results on multiple measures are being reviewed and utilized in instructional planning. Individual student progress is being monitored throughout the year with a focus on promoting academic growth. Ames Web and MAP data indicate incremental growth on discrete scaffolded academic skills. 92% of students in grades K through 12 using MAP benchmarking for reading and math showed growth. Ames Web benchmarking occurs in the fall, winter, and spring for students in grades 1 through 8. Results indicate growth of 60% for students with disabilities toward individual goals and skill development. 30% of students remained below targets, yet still exhibited relative progress. And a small population of our students were not able to be progress monitored due to significant cognitive or academic impairments. This year, we're focusing our efforts on classroom and student participation in benchmarking and progress monitoring in preparation for the 3 through 8 exams. Regents results indicate gains in average student scores over the last 2 years. Students with disabilities have consistently struggled to pass all 5 required Regents exams. This past June, the Board of Regents adopted an amendment that allowed the superintendent to review and determine eligibility for local diplomas. This pathway resulted in 12 additional local diploma graduates. Additionally, students are benefiting from a 5th year in school in order to meet graduation requirements. We anticipate an increase in graduation rate for students with disabilities through the utilization of the superintendent local diploma review process and the utilization of other safety nets. We continue to monitor our student suspension rates. District data indicates that students with disabilities are being suspended more frequently than their general education peers. However, the number of students with disabilities suspended for more than 10 days have decreased overall, and we remain below the state target of 2.7%. Based on the data that we submitted in June, we are anticipating confirmation from the New York State Education Department to indicate that we are no longer identified for disproportionality as it relates to suspension.
To address the department's goals of improving student achievement and reducing the suspension rate for students with disabilities, we have set several priorities. Instructional supports. This year, we are excited to have an elementary special education instructional coach who will focus on providing instructional coaching for special education teachers. She will also provide professional development and embedded training in research-based instructional methods such as explicit instruction, as well as assist teachers with the implementation of the new reading and math programs. Also, she is participating in coordinating school-based data teams specifically designed to address reading and math instruction. When needed, she'll assist teachers with IEP and Ames Web progress monitoring and graphing. We recently hired, 2 weeks ago, an assistive technology specialist to provide students with disabilities assistive technology evaluations, provide teacher consultations, and to work collaboratively with the tech department. Student assistive technology needs are growing with the advancement in the use of technological devices, software, and applications. She'll be providing professional development opportunities on Bookshare, Kurzweil, Chromebooks, and Google. Thank you for approving those positions last year because that was part of our budget request, so I appreciate that. Suspension monitoring. The department is going to continue to monitor the suspensions of students with disabilities by providing monthly data reports to building principals. Finally, the district behavior specialist will continue to do an internal audit of our functional behavior assessments and our behavior plans. Allocations towards teacher and teacher assistant salaries, materials, equipment, contracted services, program tuitions are funded from the general budget as well as the IDA grant. The total budget for special education is approximately $30 million. It's important to mention that the special education department submits for high-cost aid reimbursement on special education costs that exceed the threshold amounts set by New York State. All high-cost aid is reimbursed to the district through general fund. This accounts for approximately $6 to $8 million a year. Additionally, the special education department submits claims for Medicaid reimbursement every year, which accounts for approximately $600,000 a year, again back to the general fund. For the next year, we will be looking for and requesting a special education secondary instructional coach to support instruction and data teaming at the secondary level. A high school special education administrator. Boy, I know there's a lot of administrators up there, but the high school accounts for 1/3 of the district's special education enrollment. The high school data consistently indicates an ongoing challenge in meeting state target for graduation, dropout, and suspension rates. This information, we feel, supports the addition of a secondary special education administrator to support with the CSE process and provide instructional leadership for special education staff. We also support the pupil personnel department in their recommendations for a bilingual school psychologist to address the evaluation needs related to English new language learners, and a guidance counselor to support our students with disabilities who attend out-of-district programs to ensure they meet the graduation requirements. Currently, we have integrated co-teach classrooms with up to 28 students in them. We'd like to advocate for lower numbers in our co-teach sections. Grade configuration, staffing impacts. The grade configuration recommendations will have an impact on special education classes and staffing. There may be a need for additional teachers and teacher assistants. To maintain program alignment, we may need to move special classes, and physical space and classroom considerations need to be considered. We look forward to meeting with the grade configuration committee to ensure a smooth transition for our students. That concludes our presentation, and we'd like to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp. We'll start with you, Ms. Smith.
Sure, and thank you very much for the presentation, and it was a pleasure to meet all of you, and congratulations on your tenure appointment. Let's see, so I'm going to just try to stick to my one question, I hope.
So since I'm in charge when
Oh,
Kenny's out
oh,
of the-
great.
I'm always the person who goes next as vice president. Obviously, if you have a couple of quick questions, we'll go on. It was a very short presentation,
Yeah.
and so we did allot a certain amount of time, and that'll get moved over into it. And we're only, I think, before about 5 minutes off anyway.
Okay, sure. What couple of things. One is, and I did talk with you about this, and I understand. Generally, in my head, I think I know the data, but it would have been helpful at certain points, particularly around suspension. And I know we're keeping that percentage down and the disproportionality down, but I don't have a sense of the population, factually. So I would love to see where we could, the breakdowns by race. So like when you did the first page there that had the number of students that were in charters or that were, just certain points, if you could break that down. And also the number of, because you all have here a bilingual psychologist that you're wanting to have us support, but I didn't see anywhere here where you were saying, oh, it's because of this number of Ls that are actually, English language learners, and also special needs, or are they just special needs, have exited the ENL, program. I just, some more data would have been helpful for me. The other thing, I always worry about this, and I know we all do for every student, but particularly for students with special needs. When we're on the graduation, when we shake the hands of every student, I often wonder what's happening to them, what's happening next. I particularly worry about this group, and perhaps it's because I have a twin sister who has also been through the special education system. I have a son who's on the spectrum, and that is been a constant worry, what happens next. And so I'm wanting to know, to what degree are we following, well, every student, but are we following these kids in particular, and their placements? And I'll tell you another reason I asked the question. I had, one of the calls that I had earlier this year was a grandmother who said that her grandson had graduated from Albany, but he had been introduced through access services, right? But he kind of languished for 2 years because the counselor, there was, on both sides there were missed appointments. So you have this child that's been kind of sitting for 2 years, doing nothing except playing, Legos and so forth. And so that's why I'm asking about, to what degree are we following and knowing what's happening with our students as they leave us?
In terms of your request for additional data, we can definitely provide that in our update to the board and give it to Lori McKenna for you, so you'll have that. In terms of following students after graduation, the state does require once every 6 years we have different indicators that we loop through, and there is an indicator on secondary transition. There is a survey group out of Potsdam that calls families. We try to provide them that information, and exactly what you're asking, where are they a year from graduation? I know they call us often when we're working on that indicator to say, well, the number's disconnected, we can't find the family. So it's hard for us to say what they're doing after graduation. I know our transition coordinators work very hard to ensure that Access VR and different programs are set for the students. In terms of Access VR, if a student doesn't take that initial opportunity to contact and reach out to them, they really don't seek the students out. So it's unfortunate because they figure, well, they're graduated now and they should be pursuing the next part of their life. So we do everything as much as we can in the school to bring those coordinators in, meet our students and the families, and make those connections. When students do graduate, we do have a student exit summary that's provided. And on that student summary, we do provide contact information. So if 2 years after a student leaves, they're interested in pursuing Access VR and looking for some of those services, if they have that sheet, we've provided that information with that sheet.
Okay. Thank you. I may be coming back to you later.
Okay, Ms. Roach.
Thanks so much for providing the information and that presentation. I remember a year ago when I first joined the board, I think my first night as a board member, I saw your presentation on special education. And at that time, I did have a number of questions that kind of looked at special education from a maybe outside of the box approach. It's not just, to me, because these students are so unique and each one has different abilities and different potential, test scores may not be the right way to see if we're really doing right by them. I remember last year I asked questions about how are we making sure that every student has what they need in his or her IEP, and how, I remember the question that I asked last year was, how are we making sure for these students for IEPs and for these students with 504s, how are we making sure that every teacher or educator that interacts with that student in that building knows, hey, here's a kid with an IEP who needs some extra assistance, and knows what's in that IEP, whether that's functional behavioral strategies or understanding what some of those kids' limitations may be. And at that time, I don't remember you coming back with any real answers on how you're making sure those IEPs are being complied with. I would suggest that one measure of how well we're doing by these kids, because they are so different, is talking to the parents of our special needs students, maybe doing some sort of survey. Do they feel that they're being listened to? Do they feel that their needs are being met? Do they feel their children are in a setting where they're comfortable and thriving? So I would encourage getting more feedback from families, and also doing a little more work to demonstrate perhaps that the IEPs are being appropriately created. Like, for example, are you consistently having parents that are available to serve on IEP committees? And, are parents happy with what's in them? Finally, I had beyond that, I had two really quick questions about the student performance. The first one was on the Ames web graph. I wasn't totally sure what those axes, I understood what the axes were that were fall, winter, spring, but the vertical axes, is that just number of words? Are the kids getting the same test every year? In all those grades? Tell me more.
The vertical indicates the fluency, so the words read per minute and correctly per minute, and the benchmarks change depending on the amount of progress that they would anticipate the student would make based on their original instructional baseline. So it starts the student where they are at in terms of collecting baseline data, and then as they progress through the benchmarks, you would expect to see growth, which is what we're seeing within the fall, winter, and spring.
So is the same test given to each student? I mean, if student A receives the test in the fall, would student A receive the same test in the fall and the spring to determine what percentage of words they can read fluently?
Not the exact same.
Not the exact same. Okay, but a test at the same
but it's
level.
Similar.
Okay, I think I understand a little bit more. It's still kind of difficult to understand, but I think I would really like to see, I think in the past we've talked, maybe not specifically with special ed kids, but talking about can a student achieve 1 year's growth in 1 year's time, and that would be a really useful statistic for the kids you're dealing with. Secondly, and my last question about the performance was on the graph for the Regents results. I can understand why you're giving us specific percentile scores on the Regents, but it would be useful, perhaps in addition to this, to tell us what percentage of special education students versus general ed students passed Regents exams, because my understanding is for graduation, what matters is it's kind of a binary. Did you pass or did you fail? And I understand that the cut score is different for different exams. So that would be that the passing versus failing would be I think a more helpful indicator here. Thanks.
Okay. And I think that we can certainly follow up with that information. And in terms of your earlier question regarding the dissemination of information to staff about students with disabilities and their documentation, we do have a couple of avenues in which we utilize for that process. One is we are required to ensure that staff have access to student documents. That includes IEPs and 504s. And so there is a mechanism within our school tool system that is assigned to all students, whether they're IEP students or 504 students, that allows every teacher who has that student assigned to their class to be able to view and access their documents. Additionally, at the beginning of the year, our special education teachers and case managers connect with the staff to make sure that they know who the students are within their classroom that have documents connected to them, and to go over questions and specifics about what's on those documents. And then additionally, we purchased a feature related to the IEP Direct system. It's 2 years now, called the repository, which is, it's attached to each document, 504 and IEP. It allows staff to be able to save important information, reports, evaluations, things of that nature, so that a teacher, special education teacher looking into the document can view that information readily without having to search through files and other mechanisms for it.
I appreciate that. And one more question that just formulated here, because we're looking at educating children as the whole individual. Do you ever do you track any data on whether students with disabilities are participating in extracurriculars like athletics or music or other type school activities, so they're fully integrated with their classmates?
Okay, before you answer that, can we get a motion to extend the time? Ms. Roach, Dr. Brandon, how much time do you need?
Okay. No. How much? Come on, you're so bad. She needs 5 for herself.
Okay.
She wants to start at 15 minutes.
Okay. Motion to extend for 15 minutes by Ms. Roach, second by Ms. Smith. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Ms. Roach asked a question, so.
At this time, I am not familiar with the process that we have for tracking that. We certainly could address that potentially through a survey, as you had suggested previously. And then one other element that I did want to address, we are in the process of receiving educational benefit training from Capital Region BOCES. They're working with our department and our sub-CSEs in the effort to make sure that we have documents that are reflective of our students, that hit all of the necessary components. And as a component of that, we're going to be conducting internal document reviews using randomized generators, so that we can take a look at the quality of our IEPs, to be able to plan in preparation for our annual reviews and bring that back to staff and annual review training to help them build better documents that will support our students' needs. And we anticipate the growth in the area of assistive technology with the addition of our assistive technology specialists. Many of our students are already beginning to utilize Bookshare and other resource technology features.
Thank you. I really appreciate your answer. It sounds like, from what you've detailed, that the district, since last year, the district has developed and adopted some real tools to measure its compliance, rather than simply saying, well, it's the law, so of course we adhere to it. It sounds like you've got some real strategies in place to make sure we're doing right by our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Ms. Lang is going to go next, but Ms. Savage is going to just...
I just wanted to try and narrow the conversation. You'll notice that on the agenda, we had only allowed 10 minutes for presentation and 15 minutes for questions. And the reason that was so short, and I think it wasn't established properly at the beginning of this presentation, was that tonight is not supposed to be a full review and update of special ed. It's supposed to be only looking forward for the program review for program proposal for 2017-18. That's why the topic time is so short, and that's why it was done at this time, because we're leading into budget. So I totally love all of your questions, and I think they're great questions, and this was just I think a communication failure. And the same is true for the next topic, which is PPS. It's supposed to be only 2017-2018 program proposals, with the intention that we'll be smarter when budget time comes around. So if we could narrow our focus to that for tonight, I'm sure the ladies will be happy to come back and do a full review of special ed for us. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Lang. With that in mind.
Yeah, with that in mind. First, I want to say thank you for the pre-K. I think that was something that was definitely needed to make sure that our pre-Kers had services, because they did not have them before. So I want to say thank you for that. I was wondering about, okay, so now I'm kind of rephrasing it. The number of students and some of particularities of these emotional learning disability have really decreased, as well as the overall number. Is that because we're just not seeing as many emotional disturbance? I'm surprised with our refugee population, it's not higher, but are they going into more 504s in the building? Have you seen an increase of 504s? I know that that's not necessarily over special ed, but I know it's the next step. And I believe that was it, that's sort of budget-y.
So you're referring to the classification percentages chart? Okay. So the chart actually remains pretty consistent from last year to this year. The two areas that actually had a little bit of shift, and it was minor, was the category of other health impaired and learning disability. Learning disability actually dropped by 1% from last year to our beds day results this year, and other health impairment went up by a percentage. I think that you may be seeing kind of a split between the emotional disability category and the other health impairment category, in the sense that there are many students who may have diagnoses that may relate to social, emotional, or behavioral issues, but depending on how they present with that within the school environment, we make a committee decision on what the most appropriate category is for them at that time. So it may just be more careful consideration in terms of the multiple measures that we look at when we make decisions about classification.
Okay, Ms. Savage.
I'm going to do my best to narrow my focus because I asked everybody else to narrow their focus. The big picture question is the cost, and I'm really talking about cost right now because we are doing this in anticipation of budget, but you included some information about the cost both to the general fund and the IDEA grant. And then there was this talk of the high, I have made a note, the high cost reimbursement. Is that built into that number, or is there some other number that's a negative against that that I need to know to understand the total cost of special ed? Do you understand the question? It looks like it's a question for Bill, because you guys are looking at Bill. Do you understand my question, Bill?
Yes, we have to budget for the gross cost on the expense side.
Yes.
And then any state aid we get shows up on the revenue side as an offset.
So and you can tell me, I don't know that off the top of my head, I can't expect you to know every budget figure, but it would help me understand what the context of this is if I understood what the net is. So right now I'm only looking at the cost and not at the revenue, and that means I'm missing a piece of the puzzle.
Correct, and every single student is a different number, but we certainly could give you an estimate.
Yeah, I'm just looking for this is a top level total. And then, so that would be a piece of information that would be very helpful for me. And then the other cost, obviously, is you identified a number of recommendations for next year, but unless I missed it, I didn't see an anticipated cost implication for the budget for those costs. Was that in here somewhere and I just missed it?
I didn't put the cost in, but it would be the cost for one administrator and one teacher.
One administrator and one
Well,
teacher?
it's hard to say yet because I don't know the results of the grade configuration meeting. We'll be presenting in December at that meeting, so depending how we align our programs, it's going to take some really careful discussion as to how we, right now we currently have classrooms at our self-contained, and they have both grades 5 and 6 in those classrooms. So how we're going to move certain classrooms and take into consideration our programs and the buildings they've been in for a long time and the families. So I think it's going to be hard for us to say until we sit with the grade configuration committee in December to say exactly how many teachers.
Okay, I totally understand what you just said. So that really is dependent on grade configuration and how classrooms get reshuffled, and you obviously need kids. What I'm misunderstanding is that on you have a page on your slide, 2017, 2018 recommendations, and I see 6 recommendations there. And when I just asked you what the cost is, you said it's one administrator and one teacher, and so I'm having a hard time getting what you just said and what's on this slide to mesh together into a unified whole in my mind.
Well, I know Mr. Fowler is going to be presenting after me, and he has a breakdown of the cost for the psychologist as well as the guidance counselor. So we're supporting his recommendations in that. Basically, what we're looking for is an additional administrator. And then as we start really looking at our classrooms and how we're going to have to restructure, if we're going to need more co-teach classrooms, it's going to impact, the number of special ed teachers and teacher assistants. The other item that we did discuss is currently we have an elementary special education coach, and we'd like to see, and that's a teacher line, a secondary instructional coach.
So the two that you identified are the top two bullets there,
Correct.
the coach and the administrator, and your expectation is that the middle two are built into the PPS budget or budget request, and the bottom two have to do with class size and enrollment and are
Correct.
hard to predict without student. Okay,
Yes.
I got it. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
The bottom two bullets on there have to do with the individual students who present and how we have to effectively treat
Correct.
those students, and so they're unpredictable completely until we know who the student body is. I think I've got that right.
So my questions about 2017, 2018 are of a similar vein to what Ann's saying, and I have to actually explain. I have a very hard time really wrapping around the reports, and I really appreciate all the work that went into them. The difficulty I have is I'm not clear on what effect the, for example, 2016, 2017 additions from the budget took. Now, of course, we're in the beginning of 2016, so it's hard to know that. But to at least have an idea of what the expectations are and why you're actually asking for example, a secondary coach. So even though it's only November, it would help me understand what exactly the primary coach, the elementary coach, is actually doing. I mean, I know what coaches do, but if every child is unique, and then even more so when they're students with disabilities, I'd like to understand what exactly that person is doing. So I guess globally, my concern is there is a huge budget that is understandably huge for students with disabilities. Right. Thank you. So they rounded it off to 30, but 32 million. And I understand that our children need the services we provide, but what I'm having a hard time being able to figure out from year to year is we spend money and we spend more money every year and we add staff on, and yet, and I know AYP doesn't exist anymore because of ESSA, but using that as a concept, not using the state testing, but sort of getting some ability to understand if we're really making strides, not in the 30% that you've sort of, or 20% you said, that have certain cognitive deficiencies and therefore they're not going to be getting diplomas and crossing the stage, even though no one's saying that. In reality, that seems to be what's being said. So then the question becomes almost, how do we measure the effectiveness of a huge department in the district with $32 million and counting? I know how we've started to deal with the elementary and the literacy and the work we did last year in the budget and the work that that Ms. Wilson-Turner and Ms. Bechtel brought to us. And it was targeted, and it told us what they expected. And we don't always meet our expectations, but it told us that. And so I could in my head say, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, this is what it's all geared. I don't bring this up in the way that it came up years back at all, but the last time I ever saw a real plan, a targeted plan, was Dr. LeVay's report. I don't need to go back to that. That's not why I brought it up. This is so much better than any other report I've ever seen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But I'm still having a hard time having the amount of knowledge this many years on the board that, and it may be me, so that when budget comes, I am as smart about special ed as I am about any other department. And I'm reasonably smart about all the other departments. It may be because it's special ed, but this is something that sort of we have to work towards.
All right. I want to introduce Lori McKenna on this because we have some discussion around special ed, so I'm going to defer to Lori.
So this is a the beginning of a special education review. We realize that we need to do more work and more analysis on the effectiveness of our special education program. So we are ready to begin that work. We just didn't have, in the first couple months that I've been here, the amount of time needed in order to do that. We now also have a data coordinator on board, and she will then assist us in doing some of that deeper analysis that needs to be done in order to determine the effectiveness of our special education program.
Thank you, Ms. McKenna, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate just the couple of sentences you just said, and I'm done.
Ms. McKenna, can you just give us your full title for the record?
Sure. I am the Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Instruction.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Brandon, are you ready?
Well, first of all, thank you, and Ms.
Dr.
Savage.
Brandon, we have 1 minute left. Is that enough for you?
Yes, it's enough time for
Yes.
me, because I'm not. First of all, I want to thank Ms. Savage for making clearer the process for tonight's questions. But most of all, I want to thank Ms. Adler for delving deeply into where I was going had I not received the first instruction from Ms. Savage. So now that I know where we're supposed to be going with this, but everything I had to say had to do with progress and effectiveness of the special ed department. And that's where I was going. These reports, this is nice. I mean, the one that I got in the update, all of this is nice, and it's all, they're all things that I've been, been a board member for 8 years, I've heard before and seen before. You got a little more data in there now, but it's basically saying the same things that I've heard. And what I'm concerned about is what progress you're making. The fact, and this, you'll need this food, Ms. McKenna, for when you delve deeper. Special ed, I don't believe, was ever set up to be a dead end for kids. I've said this years before, and I'm going to repeat it again. Special ed was not put in place to be a dead end for children. And I want to see some data, whether I'm on this board or sitting out in the audience next January and February. I want to see some data where kids have been given the supports that they need as special ed students and moved out of special ed into regular education. That's what I want to see. You're carrying over a $30 million budget. So when you go to dig, dear Ms. McKenna, please come back with some percentages of students that we have done what we're supposed to do as educators of special education and move these kids on some of the, what I always called, having been a teacher's assistant with special ed, I call the real special ed children, which Ms. Adler referred to a few minutes ago. I understand those children, but we have some behavioral problems and some students that just can't read and other aspects that we need to be supporting so that these children can no longer be labeled special ed and be moved out into regular ed. And I need to see some numbers on that to see what progress and how effective this $32 million is that you all are spending. And now you're coming in with 2017-18 recommendations with a second, and I won't go any further because of the timeline on this. But can we get some really effective data about what's going on with special ed? All of this, is massaging, but let's get down to the nitty-gritty with what we're doing with special ed, if it's effective, and are we getting the bang for the buck? Thank you.
Well, my comments actually are an extension of Dr. Brandon's and Ms. Adler's as well. And reading through the information, it's so hard for me to wrap my head around what's going on. There's so many moving parts, so many ways to think about it, so many things to measure. And it's hard to think about what the return on investment is relative to like doing this versus that. And as a board, that's what we're trying to think about, how we should allocate resources based on results. And so it's not an easy task, because I feel like I've spent the time listening to all the questions, trying to figure out how you would actually do that, how you would measure, and short of like, trying a student in this particular classroom setting versus that particular classroom setting, it's so hard. So I guess I don't really have a question. I have my response is my same response. This is the third presentation I've heard on special ed, and my response is always, can I come visit, get a little bit more background, because I feel like I can't fully make any decisions or recommendations or even ask great questions around what's going on. So thank you very much for the presentation, and I'm going to come visit. All right. Ms. Smith has one more question.
Thanks again. I think sometimes it's hard to go first, but Dr. Brandon and what my colleagues said before, those who've been sitting on the board, I was actually depressed reading this report, because I too couldn't figure out what was going on, and I thought, well, is it possible to ever get out of special education? And Dr. Brandon's sort of took that on. So help,
I was just
help
going to
us out.
mention, it wasn't too long ago, as a district, we had over 2,000 students identified.
Okay.
And our percentage was up around 18%. So in terms of declassifying students and really working with students and building principles and supporting the response intervention with this, in our schools, we have decreased the identification of students with disabilities to, as you saw, I believe it's under about 11% now. So we're under the state target. I know we do have a lot of students with disabilities in Albany City School District, and some of them have quite severe needs. I would love to meet with you and visit some of our classrooms too, because I think until you see some of our students, it helps you put an idea when you walk into a classroom, you see a teacher and 6 students and 3 teacher assistants, sometimes how intensive needs, the students have. So.
And if I could, just to the money, I also too want to understand why, an administrator versus teachers, and so that would be helpful. I'm sorry. What'd I do? Okay, I'm done.
I just want to say that, our goal isn't necessarily just to get people out of special education with IEPs. I want to make that very clear, because I know there are many children that actually need services, that it's been years to get those children the services. So I really want this not to be, yay, we got kids off of IEPs, because
that's been over
I
like a 10-year
want to make that
period.
very, very
Yeah.
clear, because a child who's blind will continue to be blind and will continue to be in the special ed. We want to make sure that that child with the disabilities is at the best possible place they can be, and not out of special education.
Colleagues, I love you all dearly, but we are at -5 minutes and counting. If we are really going to continue this conversation, we must extend time.
Well, excuse me, but I want to respond to Jen.
That's fine, but we'll need to expend time. We are way
I
over
make a
time.
motion that we extend for 5 minutes. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
All those in
All in
favor?
favor.
Motion by Brandon, second by Bruce.
Now, before my train of thought changes, when I said, I don't think we want a rah-rah, sis, boom, bah, we got children out of special ed. That's not what we're talking about. There are some children, and I'm going to repeat this, that are real special ed children. We have those children in our district. That takes in those that are blind, that takes care of those who have the emotional. But we have too many behavioral problems that have been classified as special education. Some of them justifiably so, but too many not justifiably so. And these are the children that need the supports and the programs that our special ed department, at the tune of $32 million, should be putting in place and working with these children so that they are not dead-ended special ed. Do you understand me now, Jen?
No, absolutely. And that's why I talked about 504s versus IEPs to make sure we're
Thank
getting all of that around.
I just wanted to classify that, if I might comment at this time, I just wanted to classify, for the record, my understanding is that special education is not a place where students go, but it's rather a classification for students who have certain diagnosed disabilities, that you can be a special education, as I think it's the first page of the PowerPoint presentation, you can be, not all special ed students are in self-contained classrooms or in integrated classrooms, that there are many students with IEPs and 504s that are in the general education classroom. So it's not a question of these kids are being sent off to special ed. It's more these kids have a classification that's entitling them to certain services. While it is also important to declassify students that no longer qualify as disabled, I think we need to stop thinking of that special ed label in and of itself as a dumping ground. But I would love to see a statistic of how many students are declassified, though. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Great presentation.
I'm sorry, I just
Oh,
want some
Dr. Wilkins.
clarification, because this is really going back to Ms. Savage's comments. This is supposed to be about projection for budget for 17-18, so I just want to reiterate that. What I would recommend is that we want to get some more definition around secondary coach, instructional coach, as to the job and the emphasis around that, the elementary versus secondary, and also the high school special ed administrator. So it sounds like the board needs to have some information about what does that job entail, what do you see them doing, and how they're going to impact positively at the high school. So that's what you need to be brought forward at this point. So just want to make sure as we go to the next presentation that we remember it's about budget implications for recommendations for 17-18. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry. Next up is Pupil Personnel Services.
I seem to see Carla here every week.
All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
It's a pleasure to serve in this capacity. First time presenting on behalf of Pupil Personnel Services. Tim Fowler, Interim Director of PPS, and presenting with me is Carla McDowell, Assistant Director of Pupil Personnel Services. What we have outlined are 5 primary departmental goals. The first one is around vision. The district does have a mission and a district comprehensive improvement plan, but what we would like to do is develop shared vision with our staff around what those goals and objectives are so that we are all rowing in the same direction. Goal 2 is around code of conduct as well as preventive strategies, which Carla presented to the board on last month, so I won't go into detail around that, but that work is highly involved and involves compliance, but also implementation, is which we are at this year, and that work will be ongoing. The third goal is around social emotional developmental health, which also aligns to our district improvement plan on Tenet 5. That's all about the system, comprehensive system for social emotional supports. The fourth goal is around ensuring that our student support service staff have clear expectations around their roles and responsibilities, as the district has added support staff in those areas to address the growing need around our students who have behavioral and emotional challenges, as well as we're seeing a number of students that have also experienced trauma. And so as we have added those support staff, we want to make sure that as they're in the buildings, that they're not that they're moving in a role that is proactive versus reactive, and so we want to use their skills and expertise efficiently. Fifth, and our last primary goal, we recognize that we can't do this work alone, and so that there is going to be concerted effort to continue to reach out to our community-based organizations and strengthen the relationships with those we already have.
So we thought it would be helpful to kind of go over our current staffing in the department to help you understand where we're going and what we're requesting for the future. So beside Tim and I, our office has 2 full-time secretarial clerical typists. We also have a full-time central registrar who has 2 full-time clerk typists in her office. We have 4 attendance teachers, 1 PBIS positive behavioral intervention support coordinator, 15 guidance counselors. So then you're also going to see in the red, these are faculty that have now moved under the umbrella of PPS. So the 21 psychologists, 32 social workers, and 14 behavioral specialists. So we wanted to just point out that we now are overseeing and provide supervision for 67 new individuals to our department. One other thing to just mention is that we also, our department oversees homeless liaison services, so we work closely with a homeless liaison who's not on our staff list.
Okay, as you can see, the PPS provides oversight to a number of different areas throughout our system. First and foremost begins with central registration, which is the first stop and the point of entry for our families. And in the later slide, you'll see some data around the operational data that the central registration processes on a year-to-year and month-to-month basis. Again, the Code of Conduct and Preventive Strategies, and as well as DASA, DASA being Dignity for All Students Act. That's the act that's around bullying and harassment. Most of that work is handled at the building level, but if there are issues, PPS provides district level oversight, and we also provide training to our DASA coordinators. We've provided 2 trainings thus far, and that work will be ongoing.
The pre-superintendent conferences and superintendent hearings are primary responsibility of PPS. We also assist students who are returning or coming to the district from placements and matching them with best fits for their educational programs. As I mentioned, our PBIS services and character education is out of our office. Our attendance teachers and all of our attendance committees that are done with our building principals and our faculty are done at least monthly. Home tutoring services, homeless liaison services, child protective service liaison. Child protective services calls our department for information pretty much daily. We also run the evening tutorial programs out of Harriet Gibbons and the Alternative Learning Center. That's group tutoring for students. Homeschooling is out of our department. The processing of student working papers, confirmation, distribution of Board of Education scholarships. The physical restraint reporting is also done through our office. And we're going to go more in depth with central registration in a couple more slides, but with the open enrollment process with Central Reg, as well as middle school choice, and the preparation of subpoenaed student records. I wanted to also mention that all of these type of duties are mentioned in our program review in a metrics section, so it kind of broke it out for you as to the volume that we're talking about.
And just to highlight before we move on to the next slide, coming into PPS has been eye-opening for me in terms of the level of support that's provided. For instance, I did not know the number of students that the department provides support for homeschooling, and last year was 96 students, and this year we're currently at 74. That has grown significantly over the years where there was maybe 10 families, and which has become quite involved on the back end. And then the other thing that really speaks to the need in our district is the number of students that are considered homeless. Last year was 440 students, and then this year we are currently at 289. Our department, primarily, if we drill it down and cut to the chase, we provide parental support, principal support, as well as collaboration back and forth with our special education department in supporting our students with disabilities. And then also what I'm coined as the district level linkage. We are the in-between department that helps carry out the vision that cabinet and the district has set as a whole. And then we collaborate with our school principals and those support teams. This is taking a look at a snapshot of our program budget. Not much has changed. Most of it is rollover. One thing that I will point out is the McKinney-Vento, which is the support for our homeless. That was grant-based. This is the first year that that no longer is a grant-based item, and so that McKinney-Vento is now general fund.
The next couple slides, I hope, will give you some information as to why we are requesting support in other areas. And this is just a slide to show you, for central registration, the number of transactions at the volume of folks coming in for different needs through here at Gibbons and central registration. It's the past 2 school years as well as the first 4 months. And you can see that in 14-15, there was just about 6,000. And last year, it was over 6,000 individuals coming in for things like new registrants, changes to address, and transportation. This year, transportation, all inquiries and needs are going directly to the transportation department. So you'll see that there is a drop, particularly if you look at August and in July and August. There is a drop because now those individuals are going directly to transportation. I don't want to say that by any means that we still don't have needs, because we are finding that things that are not reflective are our pre-K and magnet application process. Between January and August, thank you, of this year, we had 1,346 transactions. So that pre-K was not part of the number above. So we just added that verbally for you tonight. Also, one of the things that we are, certainly this came up in just the previous conversation, was that our population and the needs of our children and families, we're really noticing and certainly feel that a bilingual clerk is a need within central registration. So that is a request that has been made for next year to assist with our families who are coming into that central registration process.
Mr. Fowler, we're out of time. About how much more time would you need?
5 minutes, 3 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, our next slide is just showing the overall suspension rates. We're very proud and pleased that this is out-of-school suspensions for 14, 15, and 16 school year. There has been a steady decrease, particularly from 14, 15 to 15, 16. And we hope, of course, to meet our goal of having it decrease again by the 1%, if not more, for this coming school year. And some benchmarking indicators that we'll be looking at will be disaggregated suspension data, review of the number of office disciplines, and the preventative strategy data that we'll be having with our committees that we'll be meeting with. So this is, I could spend hours on this slide, but I'll just quickly tell you that this is in some areas it's a heavy lift, in other areas it's not such a heavy lift. But one of the things that we were looking at is just to pull out, we were looking at the 3 years, and particularly we were noticing that in our secondary schools we were not increasing. In fact, we were either staying steady or we were going down. So in this slide, we were taking a hard look, and thank you very much for the addition of the attendance teacher who started mid-year to help with secondary. But we are also going to be asking for additional support because we're finding that we are needing real case management to support students and to meet their needs to meet our goal of raising up to 1% to meet the state target for every school that is below state target.
Okay, very quickly, I've already talked about the social emotional component. What I'm basically trying to do from the CETA director is just to align our work to things that are actually measurable: attendance, suspension, and looking at professional development specific to those student support service staff, professional development that is relative, such as restorative justice practices and trauma, and also the community partnerships. Now to the crux of what you all are looking for, what it's supposed to be about. If I can draw your attention to the attachment that is the Pupil Personnel Services Department staff projection that looks like this. There we have outlined a current need, which is for a pupil service supervisor to assist with the supervision of the new staff that are now sitting in our department. Most of those folks I touched as assistant director in this role. In alignment with our preventive strategies plan. A key piece of the preventive strategies plan is around positive behavior intervention supports. K-8, that system is well underway. At the high school level, that work is just beginning and is being piloted. We are in need of someone who is expert that can not only come alongside the principals that are doing the pilot, but also provide supervision oversight and work with those psychologists, the social workers, and the behavior specialists, so that mental health team is well poised to give lift to that work. In addition to that, part of the preventive strategy plan also has a component that speaks to mentoring. We have pockets of mentoring happening in the district, but we do not have a system for that. That is something that we would be looking for administrative support to do as well. We were looking at a coordinator position that was similar to our PBIS coordinator that is at the K-8 level. After further review and thinking about how to use that particular position more efficiently, I believe the district would get more of an investment from someone who can not only provide support in PBIS, but also the administrative support that we can have give lift to the work. Additionally, we are looking to repurpose the funding that was attached to the Albany Truancy Abatement Program. A hallmark of what really made that program successful in its early days was the case management aspect, and so we would be looking for a district social worker that would target efforts around attendance to a select group of students. We're estimating 30 to 40 students that we feel would, given the right interventions, would actually, and this is high school specific, that individual efforts could actually make a difference in terms of the high school making their metrics around attendance, which they were very close last year, and that case management could make the difference. Looking into 2017, we are looking at overall 2.5 FTEs for psychologists. Ms. Sharp mentioned the bilingual psychologist, and that would be one of them. The other is a half-time position related to out-of-districts. We have over 200 students with disabilities in out-of-district programs. We did add a psychologist to support that work, and what that does, it helps. I'm sorry.
I'm going to have to cut you off here
Sure.
shortly, so can you wrap it up?
I will wrap it up, and I do have numbers attached to what those projections would be. So I will entertain questions, if you have any questions related to what we've covered, or any other questions related to what we put forward for staffing implications.
Thank you. Somebody want to get started over there?
Sure. I actually was just going to ask. I was kind of looking at this, adding up numbers in my head. It looked like you're looking for 15 new FTEs for next year, approximately.
Yes.
And I wondered if, A, you would be willing to, if you have cost information, and it sounds like you do, and B, if you'd be willing to maybe prioritize like ABC or something, if we can't give you all 15, where do we most urgently need to deploy these new folks?
Right. And so this is our best guesstimate of what we are looking for, and as we proceed through the budget process, those priorities will shake out through there. One thing that I will say that I believe that we are nearing where we need to be in terms of that social emotional support. I don't see past 2017-18 if these positions do make it through the budget cycle that we would be looking to increase. I think we are finally nearing a position where we are appropriately staffed for the level of social emotional supports needs that are in our buildings.
Okay. Could I just hop in here for 1 second, an extension to Ms. Roach's comment, which is, it feels a lot like all these FTEs, the reference and the reasoning around them are extremely qualitative without some understanding of how it will impact or change the department. And I think that's important going forward. So that's not a question, just a comment. Ms. Savage.
I have one very specific question around the need for additional supervisors. Obviously, the number of people you guys are supervising is substantially more with the bringing over the psychologists and social workers. But those people are not new to the district. Those people were here. So who was supervising them before, and why didn't y'all get the supervisor as well as the staff to make that happen?
Some of which it's kind of both. The social workers, psychologists were under the umbrella of special education, although that was only a fraction of their work. Some of these folks are new, actually, as we added. There are 6 new behavior specialists, 3 new social workers, and there are, let's see, guidance is not new, but what is new is the level of work, level of supervision that we are providing. So at the middle school and high school level, primarily the guidance counselors are being supervised by the building principals, and there wasn't really district level oversight. This year will be the first year that the middle school and high school departments are coming together for joint meetings. We really want to, I don't believe in doing things half-baked, and so we're actively attending department meetings, setting agendas, setting direction, and it's a lot of heavy lifting. And to do that across the system with 18 buildings and the number of 88 support service people is not an easy task to do and do it well.
Ms. Savage, also, they were under the umbrella of special ed. So when they moved over to PPS, now they only have 2 supervisors there. But the other part of that is that there's a misnomer that the social workers are attached to the special ed students. Well, they're not. They actually have connection through the IEP, but they're supposed to be there for the general ed. So that was some of the rationale of why we wanted them over with PPS, so that they can actually expand what they're actually supposed to be doing. So right now, we went from 3 supervisors doing those plus the special ed teachers down to just 2 supervisors, with now an increase of over 40 plus new additional staff with jobs that have not been actually being done in PPS in a number of years, vis-a-vis like the guidance counselors having their meetings together as one body.
So the second part of what you said makes sense to me and sounds fantastic. System level attention to making sure that all of our students are receiving the same services from guidance, that sounds great. The fact that that staff moved from one department to another should not justify more supervisors, because there should have been supervisors for those folks at special ed. Do you understand my question? Like, if special ed is now supervising 60 some odd fewer staff, then they should need fewer supervisors, because those supervisors should be coming over here to supervise people. Do you understand my question? I do understand what you said about providing additional supervision, and it sounds like a fantastic. I'm always looking for ways that we're making the system work better, and I appreciate your intention to not do anything in a half-baked way. I really appreciate that, and I look forward to PPS really driving change system-wide for our district. One of the places which I know you're triaging, I know you all are both new to your positions, and I know you're triaging the most urgent needs first, but I would like you to keep in the back of your mind that our central registration is our window into our district for our families. Every single family in this district interacts with central registration, so anything and everything we can do to make that window, that first, it's like our front door, to make it welcoming, to make it well-trained, to make it consistent, so that a person who looks like me gets the same answer as a person who doesn't look like me, right? And I'm not still convinced that that is how our system is working, and I would like to know that we are someday, I know that that's not necessarily the #1 priority, but that becomes part of your long-term plan of really making central registration be that inviting, welcoming, consistent, and approachable place that it should be.
Again, just another add with that, we have looked over at Harriet Gibbons, and some moves are getting ready to happen around customer service. Like, we're going to look at moving E&L over to a different spot, so transportation is in the front. So when you go into Gibbons, you're actually going into Central Reds, and transportation is right there. I think the acquisition of someone who's bilingual into Central Reds is one of those answers to that as well. And Ms. McKenna has already started doing some of that work in Harriet Gibbons. I know she doesn't look like she's mighty, but she's got tough shoulders and broad shoulders. She's moving quickly into our district and just doing some of these exact changes that you're actually thinking about. They're actually moving. It's not going to move as quickly as we like to, because we have a lot of lift, but they are on the trail right now. We're moving forward.
Dr. Brandon?
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. I just, it sounds like the good side to this is that, you know, you've realized that there was some deficiencies, and you're doing your very best, you and Ms. Sharp, to just separate things out and get them straightened out once and for all, and request what you need. It just seems like a mammoth amount of people, though, to have to bring in to get you up and running the way you want to be. But my questions are kind of like Ms. Savage's. Insofar as all of these people, and that they were, somebody oversaw them, and how come they're not, you understood how she put that to you, right?
I do.
And your answer was, can you repeat it?
Part of the supervision happened in my role as assistant director
Special ed?
of special education, and leading the department meetings for both social work and psychologists. Over the 3 years that I've served in that role, what we were able to do was to move the department forward in a significant way, Those department meetings were centered around professional development. We brought in psychiatrists, we brought in experts in the area that would help increase our staff's knowledge base. And for behavior specialists, to be quite frank with you, lived in no man's land, and this is the first year where there is district level oversight. They do have an administrator to go to. We kind of tag teamed it, that they would basically approach any administrator that had a listening ear that would help them. So we're moving away from that model. And one thing I do want to underscore in terms of what I feel is a need for administrator is not just attached to the 66 support service staff people. I think a real critical piece is attached to giving lift to PBIS at the high school. Our preventive strategy plan requires us to have a K-12 system of positive behavior intervention supports, and knowing the district and knowing the system and the needs up there at the high school, I don't think a coordinator can get the job done.
So right now, your department will have a director, of which now you're the interim.
Correct.
And you're going to have an assistant director. And then you're going to have a supervisor of pupil personnel services.
Correct.
You won't.
Correct.
Okay, what's the budget? I know you gave a lot of things and a lot of numbers here, but what is the total budget you're under right now for this?
For 17-18 projections?
No, for 16-17. What are you working with right now?
Goodness. I had that. Total, I believe, the department, including administration and student support services, it's about approximately $8.5 million.
8.5 mil.
Right.
And in addition to that, you want 15 more people added to your staff.
Correct.
In accordance with how you've got the FTEs lined up on this paper. And that's what you want in addition for 2017-18.
Yes, and some of the requests are duplicate requests. For example, the high school is looking for an attendance teacher, and so because PPS provides oversight, we are capturing and we're trying to align all of our requests, so it's a centralized effort. The clerical support, we've already talked about the need to make central registration welcoming. When you look at the numbers of customers that pass through that office on a monthly basis, 2 clerks processing 2,000 new people coming through. They do the best they can. Our E&L director has also shared with administration that just this summer, between now and to date, we have 300 new E&L students have entered our system, many of which are coming from Syria and Afghanistan, who are coming suffering from PTSD, which again speaks to another need of that social emotional support. And so I know it's a big number.
So what it sounds like you're saying is that your department is seriously understaffed at this moment.
I would say that we're 80% capacity. 80%
capacity. Okay, and you're going to need money for all, to make a long story real short.
Long story short, 1.6.
1.6 is what you, in addition to your 8.15 that you're already getting.
8.5 is where we sit now.
And you need 1.6 mil to take care of all of your 14. And you don't think you're going to be top heavy, or that you're going to have too much, or that maybe your assistant director could take on some of this, or maybe you don't think. See, I'm asking very blunt and to the point questions. You never have to guess.
Appreciate that.
You have to guess where I'm coming from, because I'm going right there. I mean, once you get all these 15 people in place, and then, but you know, you got the director and the assistant director, a lot of layers here. And you know, it sure, you can't be any realigning done to get from maybe 15 people to say 11 if you redid the thing, because 1.6 mil, we'll do the best we can. That's about all I
Right,
can tell
right.
you.
I can appreciate
Or
that.
they'll do the best they
I
can.
can appreciate that. in terms of, you know, I tend to be a straight shooter. In terms of the administration, I don't think it's top heavy.
You don't think you'll be top heavy?
I don't think it's top heavy because over the last 5 years, we have not moved the needle. The department has not provided the level of oversight and supervision that is required for the district to meet our goals and objectives.
And just let me remind everyone that we do have the AG's report. And under the AG's report, PPS is actually in charge of that right now with the strategic planning and everything that we're doing. So they are doing that lift. And just a reminder.
So, Dr. Wilkins, while you're...
Thank you very much, Tim and Carla, right?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Wilkins, while you're on the mic, this seems like a systemic adjustment to the way we're getting things done or doing things. Oh, I'm sorry. And so I was just wondering, in terms of your own priorities, where this falls.
This is one of those buckets, the receivership, the AG's report, supporting PPS is the AG's report. So I would say it's one of the top three. It's what we are actually striving to do as one of our goals. It's one of my goals.
So it wasn't my question, but that was a good one anyway. So starting actually from the question that flows from that. So first of all, Tim, thank you so much for being very direct in how you present and answer the questions. It's just like straight to the point, nothing extraneous. So from now on, will you agree that what the board is going to now see are that all requests for psychologists, social workers, and behavioral specialists will be coming to us from PPS, so that at budget time, we are not going to see those requests from any individual schools in the district. It's being streamlined through you, through your office?
I think it'll come out in the wash, but yes, we are providing, that's our charge, is to connect with building principals and make sure that the requests that relate to my department, so it will be one request by the time we get to the budget cycle.
I was going to joke with you and say, here I was telling you were really direct, and then your answer is coming out in the wash, and I'm thinking, that metaphor doesn't really, I saw it, that metaphor doesn't really work for that one.
Right.
So the answer, you knew what I'm getting at. Yeah. It wasn't a trick question or a catch or a gotcha. You know, we always are hearing, oh, this school needs 0.5 or 1.5. And actually, this is a better system until, of course, we find out that there's a better one down the road. But this is a better system, so thank you. I wanted to clarify that. The other thing is when I add up the Roman numerals on your FTE request things, you know, Roman numeral 1 through whatever, I actually come up with 17 FTEs, not 18. Did you... So I did it twice. I could be getting it wrong. I didn't go into the body of it. I just used the FTE alongside Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, and so on, and came up with 17. And the reason that's where I wanted to start is because I also then, when I went through them, found that at least for the first one, which is your supervisor, and one other, it looks like there are already allotted line items for them. So again, we're trying to whittle it down to whether prioritized, as I understand it, Ms. Ellen was saying, Ms. Roach was speaking, or some more approachable number. And Rose just like pulled up 11 out of her ear. So, but getting it to a spot where we understand it. So it looks like the supervisor position was an already labeled other position. What's the difference in cost between the two? Are they a wash, the supervisor and the already allotted line that you discuss in Roman numeral 1?
Roman numeral 1.
Okay, it's your thing where you list your FTEs and you talk about having a supervisor of PPS. And in there you say, I can pull it up, I didn't want to just sit and read it to you.
Sure.
In there it says for Roman numeral 1, it says, no, keep going. And it says that This request would be in lieu of the secondary response to intervention for behavior coordinator
Got it.
position,
Got it.
which, and my favorite words are, which was approved for posting, which suggests when something is approved for posting, we already have it somewhere in some budget line. So what is the cost difference? Because that doesn't look like that looks like off of 17, we can take that, but I'd like to know, if you don't know now, but to let us know what the cost differential is between what the posted RTI job was posted versus what the supervisor's cost will be, the full total. That's the first. There was another wash in there, and it was the, oh gosh.
Case manager for attendance?
No.
No.
No, there was, thank you. Oh, yes, the one, the truancy thing. So that also looks like, based on what you tell us the separate costs are,
Right.
that what the money is we're saving by not using a truancy program that through several administrations, both at the high school level and district, have said was not working. What is the money that was allotted over the last few years for truancy abatement is an important number for us to know as a board. And then what will the cost be of the district attendance person you want? I can always hope that that's a savings to us, but probably not. So again, that's how we sort of, now that you're in your position, whittling down to kind of figure out where we really are in the numbers. So that's one thing, and if you could check on the 17 versus 18, that would help. My last question is about the two positions that you're sharing with special ed. So since it was raised by Ms. Sharp, and I think you mentioned also the influx of ENL students with needing a translator
right.
or
Bilingual
bilingual
psychologist.
psychologist. My concern is, given the number of languages that are spoken in the district by the families that are coming in as ENLs, one of the things that we've always been, or I've always been told as a board member, is the vast number of languages and the different dialects and the challenge when we're doing community engagement outreach, making sure we are able to reach people in their native language. I'm having a very hard time understanding how we could be seeking a 1.0 FTE bilingual psychologist as written and explained to meet ENL needs for which language? Because I can't imagine it's like 0.1 Urdu, 0.1 something else, 0.1 Afghani.
Got
So what are we talking about?
Well, bilingual psychologist is not necessarily bilingual in terms of the language itself. That is actually a certification. So that is a psychologist who is certified and trained to conduct assessment and evaluations of students who speak languages other than English. They can speak another language, and most do, but they won't necessarily speak every language there.
So they're basically, one would assume the training they have to get that certification would at least at a minimum allow them to access or figure out, that kind of thing.
Correct.
Great,
Correct.
thank you, because I couldn't,
Can I add to that? So one of the things, we have one at DCS, Mrs. Lopez, she happens to speak Spanish, but what happens is they're pulled in the district, so we may have her, we have her in the building, but for anyone that has an IEP or something in a different language, she is that person.
And even if it's not Spanish, great. Then the last question is the out-of-district guidance counselor. So I'm not sure I understand exactly what it is. I know I read what it said, but I'm not exactly sure what its function would be, because, for example, if a student who's special ed but out of the district, I would presume that that means that the level of their disability is such that it could not be met, or the disabilities could not be met in the district if somebody's out of district. Is that correct? Is that like a fundamental thing?
That is correct.
So if a child is out of district, and one would, and I know this from old OMRDD days when I represented them. So out-of-district placements are usually more severely disabled students or people. And if they're more severely disabled, then while I understand transition services and those kinds of things, I'm not sure I understand what the guidance counselor as written about the kinds of things that guidance counselor would do would really be an effective use of our money if we're prioritizing needs. Because if that's a more severe...
I think I have an answer to your question. So that particular role, we're not looking solely for out of district, but to explain the out of district piece. So we have students who are out of district. We can, for lack of better words, we can farm out the service needs, but the district is still responsible as it relates to transcripts, graduation. And so as we have secondary students that are in out-of-district programs, currently it's been challenging in terms of trying to identify which counselor can then pick up not only their 300 students that they have at the high school, but also provide guidance reviewing transcripts, graduation eligibility. There's a disconnect between our evening and our alternative programs, and so we're also envisioning that person would be able to assist with that. Also, again, with the bilingual piece or the ENL piece, that is also another area that we are seeing a growing need. So this person's responsibility would serve a few different purposes.
So I do understand the bilingual. The last thing I'm going to say about the out-of-district part of point 5 is whether you can consider if because you also asked for clerical support, some of what you described, and it may be because I'm not as fluent as you in the work that we're talking about. So either I would prefer a different explanation of what that job would be doing, or for you to maybe consider if there is anything that is more ministerial, because when you described some of it, it sounded ministerial, and it could be done by somebody in terms of getting together transcripts or other kinds of things, whether you really need somebody at the pay scale of a guidance counselor. So that I'm just trying to figure out how to get the most bang for the scarcity of resources that exist. So just to sort of consider whether that can be done. So thank you so much.
Sure.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Okay, it's been recommended that we actually bring the lottery discussion back for a future board meeting. Is everybody comfortable with that? Okay, let's have a motion to.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to remove the lottery from today's agenda and put it on an upcoming agenda.
Okay, Ms. Savage's motion, Ms. Smith a second. All those in favor? Aye. I would like to just apologize to everybody who was here for the lottery presentation, and we'll have to return another evening. I think Mr. Lane, or Dr. Lane in the background, was here for that. No, she's the... Okay, so now we're at board member items. Okay, anybody have a board member item? Ms. Roach.
I do have a board member item. I attended a meeting of the Wellness Committee this past Monday, and I'm happy to report that we are now ready to move forward on rolling out the wellness policy. While the initial report from Communications was that Communications preferred not to roll it out publicly until February or March, because their indication was that Communications would not have time to work on a project of this nature until after the January referendum. We talked about the necessity to make this something that's done internally first, not something with TV cameras and press releases, but something that's going to be discussions with principals, discussions with teachers, something in the staff newsletter, backpack mail to parents, etc. So where we left it was that Lisa Angerami is going to talk with Dr. Wilkins about possibly giving a presentation to principals at the next principals meeting this month, and that'll be followed up by something in writing and maybe a December staff newsletter. So I am very happy to report at last we are moving forward.
Okay, thank you very much. That wasn't exactly a board member item, though. Do you want it on a future board? Okay. Just wanted to.
I am so
just
sorry.
Wanted to clarify.
I get
It was-
confused.
No. Perfect. Any other board member items? Committee reports. We had one. Any other committee reports? Governance committee was canceled, right? Okay. Good. Other business items. Dr. Brandon.
I just wanted to say that I attended I want to commend Ron Lesko and well, the word commend should have softened them up a little bit. I want to commend Ron and Lisa and the superintendent. I attended the first presentation for 50 North Lark at Hackett. I believe it was Wednesday night. And I just want to tell them that I think they did an excellent job. It was moderately populated, and I just wanted to thank you for in the PowerPoint there was a schedule of all of the upcoming presentations, because I had people asking me at an event that I was at Tuesday, when would these forums, what the schedule was, and then when I walked in there and looked at and you had it, that was really wonderful. I wanted to ask a question. For the upcoming ones, Dr. Wilkins, are you going to do every one of those presentations?
I would love to say yes, but I think I'm missing two because of conflicts of schedule. So if I'm not there, the cabinet will be there. But we're taking the show on the road.
Because if you are, I mean, it's quite a schedule, and that's a lot for you to undertake.
But it's only two I'm going to be missing.
But I do like the way you presented, because I thought it was really, very, it was received well, I thought, by the folk. The other question about that was, I have a question as to why I noticed on the schedule you have a forum scheduled for SA, but you don't have forums scheduled for all of the 5 schools that are involved in the feed. And I just would like to make a suggestion to you. I think in your schedule, each one of those 5 schools that will be involved in the feed into 50 North Lark, there needs to probably be a forum at their school. And I only see on this schedule that you're going into, it looks like SA.
You want it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Wednesday, December 14, you're going into Scholar Achievement, but the other schools affected. Yeah, okay.
Right.
Oh, thank you, hon.
So the meeting at Schuyler Achievement Academy is we wanted to have another meeting on the north side of the city. They had a PTA meeting that evening, so that's really a community-wide meeting that evening at the school. We also are scheduling, whether it's in conjunction with a parent university meeting, Sheridan Prep has a pasta and movie night on November 18th, so we will be going to all of the schools individually as well to meet with families at those schools.
At the 5.
At all of the schools that are affected.
But I just would like to suggest, I know whether it's a pancake supper or a movie night or whatever, it should be specifically stated that these presentations have to do with the feeding into a 50 North Lark, because those parents really need to,
And what you're seeing there on the schedule, those are the community-wide activities that anyone from the community can come to any of those at any time. What you're not seeing there are the specific meetings presentations that we're scheduling just for families from individual schools.
And
We will be at all the schools.
I say that because of how hard it is to get the people to come. And I know your department is doing the best they can to get people to come in, and it's probably might even get to be more difficult. So this is why I'm saying, you know, you really need to put the pressure on, especially for the 5 schools that are involved that would be feeding in.
The other thing too is that I'm very insistent that we get to the staff and faculty at each building. So we are coming up with a schedule for me to go into their professional development meetings. So we are setting up a schedule now for me to go to all 5 schools plus Pine Hills to talk to the staff and faculty. I'm working with the principals for me to get into the buildings for the individual buildings with Ron and the communication. So again, we're not trying to not hit all the avenues. We're also being very consciously aware of not doing our middle school piece with our babies in 5th and 6th grade because we don't want to give them misinformation. We also don't want to give them the information before their parents get the information. So we had to hold them back for just a month so that I can get to the staff and the parents and then get to our little ones and let them know about the new middle school. So we're consciously aware of trying to get the information out in a sequential and effective way so everybody knows what's going on.
And Freda, I think it was Freda, either her or Yvette, made a point tonight when they said that, you know, we're moving into the holidays and you have all of these things scheduled. It's going to get kind of hectic, but we still got to push to make sure that word gets out in the community of what we're trying to do.
As an outsider, as I've been watching this, I've been assuming that you've been strategically intending to do that after November 8th, thinking that people are really not able to hear much until November 8th is done, and that people's ears will be bigger on November 9th than they are on November 8th. So that's been my assumption about your intentions.
Absolutely. And, you know, we were at Hackett first because they had a parent university meeting on the schedule. That was not intentional. We would have been at, you know, Sheridan Prep or Arbor Hill or Schuyler first. We wanted to take advantage of the opportunity last night to have the families at Hackett there, just to begin talking about the program as long as there was a pre-scheduled meeting.
Any other business? Ms. Roach?
Yes, I do have another piece of business, and it relates to a request I wanted to make about how the budget is presented by the music department. Right now, it's come to my attention that right now band and instrument starts at the 3rd grade level, but right now, based on informal questioning, it seems that there may be as many as 60 to 80 3rd grade students that are on wait lists for instruments, both because of a lack of instruments, a lack of staff, and a lack of space in the buildings in which to hold the weekly small music lessons that band and orchestra students in elementary school have. So when the music department is formulating its budget for 2017-18, I would like them to show what would need to be done on our part to eliminate the wait list and make band and instrumental music available to every student who wants to participate. And if they want to show alternate scenarios to achieve that goal, such as in the one I could think of, for example, is delaying the start of band and instrumental instruments into 4th grade to free up more instruments and teachers. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that as part of the budget so that we as a board can work toward making that happen as soon as possible.
Okay. Karen Backdahl is in back of you going just like this. So they are on it right now. So that will be part of the budget presentation for music.
So Karen, so that you don't think that Ellen's out in a field by herself as the only one who wants to do this, I think a number of us understand that while this could be while a number of us understand this would be a controversial issue, we also believe, as you know, I think a number of us, from hearing all this over the last few years, is that it's controversial when there's a lot of kids on a wait list and they can't get it. And I think that the global issue for us also that's been discussed, and that's not something we can do for, let's say, this budget season, but I think the board's going to do it as, you know, we get through the other member items, but the issue being the equity piece on music is also a philosophic piece as well, which is some people think that the horse is children reading on level, doing math on level, and then the cart comes, which is being able to do something like music. Whereas it may, in fact, not be that way, and there's a question in terms of being more creative and out of the box, like maybe the horse is giving, because, over the years we've heard, that kids in AIS, that has to be pulled out. They don't have time, they're not reading on level. And the question becomes, and it's only something somebody in the classroom or in the building or at your position can figure out, which is maybe the issue is to provide music as a means of helping engagement and behavioral compliance and all of those things. Maybe and we know this, and Rose is right. We know that statistically it supports it, and we certainly know across the country it's been done in districts. So I just want to kind of clue you in so it's not a surprise to know where at least my thinking's at, Ellen, people's thinking might be at around this issue. And it is thorny, but you may have a board that's willing to say, hey, remember what was done in 2009 or
Well,
8 or 10 when there was a vote and
Ms.
then it never
Adler
got
is-
carried
Ms.
out?
Adler's touching on something that I did not specifically address because I think it's more of a board. I think, actually talking with Sue about parliamentary procedure, she suggested it might be more of a board member item to request of a music department presentation in the future, which would be something that would be after this particular budget season. But my understanding is some of the reasons, at least from reading a letter that was forwarded to me by a parent who got a wait list, some of the reasons that certain students don't get music lessons is because of the difficulty of taking them out of class during core instructional time, or the belief that students that are struggling, perhaps in core subjects, can't afford to miss the instructional time, or perhaps that students that are not always completely behaviorally compliant aren't the best students for the music program. It's questionable, and I did mention this, sort of alluded to this in the question of the special ed, as to whether the students in the music program are really representative as the district as a whole, whether that's socioeconomically, racially, or in terms of students with disabilities, because music can benefit all students, not simply high-performing elite students. So if the instruments are being predominantly distributed, and I don't know that this is the case, if the instruments are being more distributed to our higher-performing, more academically achieving students, then we've got a problem. But I think we can start by asking for the budget to say, what's the budget going to take to get those wait lists down to 0? And perhaps if we're thinking really big picture, what would it take to get third grade instruments, what would it take to get music instruction, or instrumental music instruction universal?
Just
at the
wanted
elementary
to
level.
speak to the process piece. So back when we put a discussion at the end of a board meeting, actually, I don't think this is a board member item in the way that we've discussed it, and it is late, so we won't have to keep, but I think from a discussion standpoint, why we put this at the end is we always have so many topics and presentations that we really can't ever have this little discussion, which is really what should be done publicly.
I
and
thought
that-
it was, were we asking the music department to give us a list of how long the wait list is for what schools and what instruments or whatnot?
That's a separate thing, but I just wanted to say, to me, that's what this issue, what the discussion part was about, to say, hey, maybe does anybody want to really revisit whether or not we do music at this year or that year, or what's our policy or what's our philosophy? So I kind of think that it's always been shoehorning into a board meeting, and it's not really like we need anybody to come and talk to us about it. It's something we need to discuss, so.
And then
It feels like we're having like a board discussion around this. Are you suggesting that we should actually do that?
I was just saying that in response to Ellen saying that it's about a board member item, that the nature of sort of discussing whether or not, hey, is that something that we should be talking about? What do you think about it? I think that maybe we should have a different policy on this. To me, that actually is what the discussion section of a board meeting, not maybe at 10:30, but the discussion section is about, because
Well, this
Or,
is
no, at
this
the
is
end.
other business. So
or the other
you're-
business, yes,
Mhm.
that's what I meant.
So you're saying other business should be an ongoing discussion between the board around
I
an
think that's
item
where
that they
it
would
ca-
like to?
I think it can be there. In other words, you're not asking for a presentation, you're not, in a sense, of a board member item, you're not asking for a report from district staff, you're just asking for people's thoughts and ideas around something.
I guess I would I would suggest that my preference would be that instead we put them on as board member items in the sense of not we're asking staff to do something, but that we need time on the agenda, because I am a person who likes to prepare for a conversation. I don't want to have the conversation when it's first presented. I would like to know that it's a topic of conversation, and then we put it on the agenda, but it doesn't even have to have a staff presentation. It could just be time for a philosophical discussion about music. So that's my suggestion.
Yes, and forgive me for this. I have one more item of other business, and it is that many of us, actually 6 of us, plus Dr. Wilkins and Dr. McKenna, went to the New York State School Board Association's conference last week and had a wonderful experience and learned a lot about governance and education. And I know part of the board policy that says that board members can go to these conferences is also that board members will come back and report on what they got out of those conferences. And rather than have the next meeting go till 11 while we all talk about spend 5 minutes talking about what we learned, maybe my modest proposal is maybe we all try to send a sentence or two to Dr. Wilkins, crystallizing what we got out of it, and maybe she could put it in the superintendent report next time, so that we could comply with it without
Or
going
make
on
it
and
an
on.
SBU. How's that? We could do an SBU on it. We put it in the report. Not a problem.
That would be good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Ms. Smith.
So I had an item, and it relates to HR,
No,
and
we're on
the work that Deborah's doing. I'm sorry, you were going to say something? Oh,
Business,
okay.
sorry, I didn't.
Oh, okay. And I'm very excited about the fair, and I've sort of taken that flyer and handed it out and talked to some people. One of the things that, and I know we're all concerned about this, is really trying to increase the diversity of staff, particularly in the classroom. And so I think that we've had some discussions previous to tonight, at least while I've been on the board, about where we might, some strategies that we might want to implement to really sort of be rather aggressive about our, recruitment efforts and also our retention efforts. And so I wanted to sort of bring that issue back to the table. Where are we going to say, traditionally, historically black colleges and so forth, are we going where we might find the kind of candidates, both in terms of diversity and, highly qualified, backgrounds? Are we going to those folks? And so I'm just sort of putting it back on the table a little bit for further discussions.
So on our board member item list, which is pared down significantly, that is on there. And we've talked at agenda setting about the fact that it would be helpful, even if we're not sort of, at an end point, whatever that might be, since hiring is 365 days a year, is to have sort of an update on that with an eye to figuring out if we want to have like a sort of goals or percentages to meet by the fall, rather than our telling you, like, go to the historically black colleges, which I've only said not anytime. But instead of that, maybe setting a goal that, or you proposing a goal that you think, and then you figuring out, as always, the strategies, the how to do it. So what we'll do is we'll go back, and just like with the change orders, at our next agenda setting, as we look towards the January meetings, because it's only got 2 more left, we will put that on, and we'll put it on early, so that we can get some strategies presented to us around that.
Right. In addition, at some point, we talked about some possible incentives that might, I don't know if those are monetary, I don't know what those might be. We've had a range of those kinds of things. Would that be also included?
I think that would be part of their strategies for how to draw people, and to the extent that they are not verboten with collective bargaining agreements, that would be something that I'm sure they're going to put on their creative hats. And in the middle of budget season, when we put this on the calendar, we'll find a time that works for staff and for when they can kind of, and then really brainstorm for us. It really doesn't have to be an end of the
Absolutely.
of
And the
approach.
only reason for mentioning the historically black colleges is because we had that discussion at some point, and that was, somebody raised that. But I do leave the strategies to you, but I don't think we should, I think we should get that out on the table sooner rather than later, and particularly if it involves, funding for those efforts. Thank you.
Any other business items? Any other business items? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn? Ms. Adler, second by Ms. Savage. All those in favor? It's unanimous.